cooperative, so long as we looked at the risk involved and the deal, a better deal to the county in terms of processing, salary etc. We're confident about that, and it's a decision that we've made.
To strengthen the delivery of healthcare services countywide, we have delivered major infrastructural and service improvements across the sub-county level 4 hospitals. A recent case that demonstrates the milestone and our efforts to decentralize essential health services to the peripheries occurred at Tarbaj Sub-County Hospital. The hospital successfully carried out its first ever cesarean section and was performed for a mother who had previously lost 2 babies and had been referred from Mansa location. And thanks to our medical team, she delivered safely on 23rd of November 2025.
This is our country, okay? It is our country. And we must determine what kind of a country we want. And we must determine what kind of a future we want to bequeath to our family. The people who built Makongeni 100 years ago had a vision and had a dream for that generation, and it served them.
All right.
We then, it is our responsibility right now to say, is it right to have 70% of our Nairobian population living in slums?
Education must be orderly, inclusive, and driven by policy.
No shortcuts.
Not shortcuts or abrupt pronouncements.
Yes. Sisi tunaomba kwamba fursa ambayo atapatiwa yule head teacher ama yule principal akuwe ni mtu ambaye amequalify kufundisha na pia ana qualify kuongoza, na asikuwe ni mtu mmoja ambaye anaongoza ECD, primary na JSS. Akuwe mtu kando ili kukuwe na management of facilities, management of capitation kando.
Let it be
1 year
as it was promised, as it is written on the paper, okay?
Yes.
So we just hope that the interns are going to be confirmed so that they enjoy working as a Kenyan teacher.
The junior school is at the level of exploration, and it needs some resources. It needs also some support from all the stakeholders, and with autonomy, that one will be ensured.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Patricia Waiua, and this is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
Because our constitution decrees that elections must be free from harassment, violence, intimidation, and of course malpractices such as bribery. And so when we received reports from Kasipun that there have been instances of chaos and violence, we did constitute the Election Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee, and that committee summoned all the concerned candidates to appear before that committee, and that committee completed that process successfully. As you are aware, the commission did fine those candidates 1 million each, which they did pay. Failure to which that could have led to their disqualification. So I'm glad the 2 candidates cooperated. They paid their fine on time. They also signed a political decency and peace and peaceful elections charter. And we believe, as of now, they are still abiding by that pledge, and of course by the code of conduct.
Kwa niaba ya Ugunja constituency ningependa kusema kwamba tuko tayari kabisa, na bila shaka hatuna jambo lolote ambalo tunaweza sema kwamba limeleta mushkili aina yoyote. Kwa wakati huu tunawatuma maafisa zaidi ya 232 na hawa wote ndio watakuwa wakiwahudumia wana Ugunja, na ni matarajio yetu kwamba kaaji wote wa Ugunja constituency bila shaka watajitokeza ili waweze kuhakikisha kwamba wamemchagua kiongozi ambaye atawaongoza.
Hawa wakubwa wa security tulifanya kazi na wao wengi na tunawajua vizuri sana. The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kanja, Unajua kuna namna ya kuendesha watu namna hii na ushenzi, anapo wanafikiri hivyo ndivyo nchi inapaswa kuendeshwa. Wakenya hawezi kukubali maneno kama haya, na tusiharibu nchi yetu kwa sababu ya siasa duni na mambo ya pesa na upumbavu kama huo.
So I'm asking Boni, he's my good friend by the way. Boni is one of my mentors in politics. In fact, I would want us to test him. Aende atukue tikiti ya DCP asimame. Ni DCP ama ni DAPK? Yeah, DAPK asimame. Tujaribu. Sasa ikiende akachukua DCP asimame. We are ready for this by-election. Sini kupimana nguvu. They are bidding their time, wanting us to negotiate with them. Some of them, you are saying that they are willing to talk to William Ruto because they think they are kingpins of their regions.
We have had no incidents. There have been small issues of the machines not working, the fingerprints not picking up. Myself, I had my fingerprint. I had to repeat it twice or thrice. But apart from that, we have no issues of violence. We have no issues of other, issues that are not conducive to this environment.
Nobody is going to be denied his opportunity to choose his leader. If the fingerprints don't work, then there are alternative methods of voting. There are alternative methods of identification that can be done. And our officers in the field, the POs and everybody, the presiding officers and the clerks, everybody is quite familiar on what steps to take as and when the system does not work properly. But by and large, 99% of the system is working perfectly well.
Sasa hakuna msukumano hapa na pale. Naona sasa unapiga kura, unatoka unaenda kufanya shughuli yako. Naomba wenye wako nyumbani saa hii watoke kwa wingi, wakuje wapige kura ili tumalize mapema, ndio vizuri. Polisi wanafanya kazi mzuri, hawasumbui wananchi, wako sawa sawa, wametulinda, hakuna shida. Nimepata usaidizi mzuri sana, nimehudumiwa vizuri, hakuna kelele.
My name is Makasodo. I just entered about 10 minutes ago. I voted, so I cannot speak of any delays or anything because I voted. I've just entered, I've voted. I cannot say I'm handled bad because I've just entered and voted. Everything is okay. Maybe people are not coming. There's no crowd here. I was expecting to get a crowded line, but there's nobody around. But I just entered and voted.
Mimi jambo la kwanza kwa IBC, nataka vile hiyo jina yao iko, nataka ikuwe free and fair, isiegemee upande wowote. Wacha yule wapiga kura wamempigia kura atangazwe mshindi.
Nimefika around 8:15 and actually voting is going on well, even though the turnout is low. The process is very okay. I have not noted any anomaly, and actually the public, the Arab people around have kept distance. They are away.
Choices elected to represent them. I want to assure those voting in this electoral area that from the agencies I've talked to, there is sufficient security deployed and people should not act in any fear. They should go and vote and go home to wait for the results that will be announced after tallying. This is after the stations are closed at 5.
This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation.
The World AIDS Day reminds us that we have the power to transform lives and futures, and then the AIDS epidemic once and for all. The progress we have made is undeniable. Since 2010, new infections have fallen by 40%. AIDS-related deaths have declined by more than half, and access to treatment is better than ever before. But for many people around the world, the crisis continues. Millions still lack access to HIV prevention and treatment services because of who they are, where they live, or the stigma they endure. Meanwhile, reduced resources and services are putting lives at risk and threatening hard-won gains. Ending AIDS means empowering communities, investing in prevention, and expanding access to treatment for all people.
Your Excellency, we need to improve the compensation that comes to all the chiefs and assistant chiefs who suffer in line of duty, and they mean to be compensated in good time.
They are the eyes and ears of government and of the president at the grassroots. They are the most dependable transmitters of government policy. And Mr. President, the requests that they have made directly through the minister and through their superiors, please, I respectfully request you to accommodate the requests of these our brothers and sisters to the farthest extent possible, because through these people we can expedite. By empowering these people and this cadre, we can fasten and expedite the transformation of Kenya in the shortest time possible.
To our people, justice that is meaningful and justice that engenders trust by our people. This year's theme, beyond justice beyond brick and mortar, unlocking the multi-door pathways for people-centered justice in East Africa, speaks directly to the critical moment that we find ourselves in.
Certain allegations were made. Those allegations are not in this report. So what we deal with now is just reconciliation and a proper schedule and an assurance that you are paying the right people, an assurance that you are paying when payments are due, and an assurance that you are not borrowing from these deposits and retentions account to do other things.
The following measures have been undertaken institutionalized. Number one, the current government has commenced a complete reconciliation of the deposit and retention ledger, which includes preparing a detailed aging analysis of holdups and retentions. Number two, linking each balance to specific contracts, suppliers, or performance guarantees. This exercise is ongoing, and to this end, the CCM Finance has appointed a team to oversee the development of master register for treasurer's money, as shown in the next 50. But then the accountant tells me that, let me ask the accountant to say something on it.
We have instituted these controls touching on retention, and now we are maintaining a retention register and a control ledger for each department. That is
possible. Is it that if I was to design a system that would be very possible? Is it that if MIS cannot do that?
Labor migration in this country is a new phenomenon. It's not really a new phenomenon, but I think this government has picked it up and made it one of its key pillars in terms of employment and offering employment to Kenyans abroad. Honorable Speaker, this issue has been belabored by a lot of issues. One, what happens to our young people when they go to abroad, when they fall sick? We need a policy on that issue. Secondly, what are the preparations that must be made for the young people as they go out to work abroad, Honorable Speaker? What is the role of agents, Honorable Speaker, as they take away our young people and take them abroad?
And the gaps that exist are varied, but mostly there will be the issue of awareness, and that's why I'm talking about sensitization, because the technology could be there, but if a farmer is not aware, if it's not affordable, for example, then you cannot say that that technology is accessible to them, it is helpful to them.
We have now to open very aggressive discussions with the farmers, the market, the scientists, the regulators, and all the stakeholders therein.
So far, we are dealing with more than 12 cases challenging the adoption of this innovation, the biotech, in the country.
Our candidates. On Sunday, I said that DCP is in talks with Wiper and other parties in the United Oppositions. And we have looked at the formula in Nairobi, regional composition, party loyalties, and past performances. And we have come to the conclusion that the United Opposition can take 16 out of 17 seats. We have looked at the history of the voting patterns in Nairobi, and we are convinced that the United Opposition, where DCP and Wiper are strong partners. You know, if people think that they can create a wedge between us, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka led the DCP campaign in Magarini. That is how close we are. Tupigie Kalonzo makofi.
the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayoa, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
And yes, welcome back. This is the Generation Report that starts from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Saturday. Good evening, and I hope you're well wherever you are tuned in from. I hope you're well. I hope you had a great week, just like mine here, and just like the whole family, the entire family of Radio Generation. This is 88.8, that is here in Nairobi. Kule Mombasa, 90.7, that is Radio Generation in Mombasa and Coast region, and also on our social media platforms where you are able to follow the whole conversation that is going to happen here. Please do so at Radio Gen KE. That is on Instagram, on Facebook, and even on X platform. And this week, of course, it has been so busy. The week has really been busy. Let me just say that because a lot has really happened. Starting from we were marking the World AIDS Day, and of course, there is a lot of development in terms of fighting this menace, this disease that has been eating the human race for the longest time. So we have seen, we have done great steps towards getting a solution to this. Again, this week we saw I saw some people calling it the return of the mighty chiefs. Yes, and of course they have been there, but we've not been feeling their impact so much. But this time round, we have seen that the president has moved on to. He has decided to support the chiefs. That saizi tunaona kwamba wamekuwa. I feel like ni kama walikuwa nadharauliwa mpaka sasa, not like the chiefs that we experienced kitambo. So we are also going to discuss about that. There are so many things that happened this week. We are talking of even the president's journey to the U.S. witnessing the peace signing agreement of Rwanda, which is quite important, and also the goodies that we are expecting the president to bring back to the country. We are also going to look at that. We are talking about the president of Tanzania still being stuck on the fact that she feels that the protests that were in Tanzania that we witnessed after the election, she still believes that it is kuna mkono ya inchi kuna mkono wa inchi nyingine. So we also going to look at that. There is a lot that we are going to look at. There is also the impeachment of the proceedings of the impeachment of the Nyamira governor Nyaribo. Of course, he was saved from impeachment, and a lot of many other stories that are lined up for you. So what I'm requesting you is just please add the volume of that radio, of that gadget that you're using, so that now we can do this together. Today in studio we have 3 young people. I don't know how young they are, but I'm calling them young. They are going to help us analyze and review the big news of this story, like I have mentioned. So they are going to introduce themselves as we are going to take off this show tonight. So I'll start from my right. You're going to introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then now we move to the other person.
Thank you so much. My name is Ken Babu. I'm the youth chair of the United Opposition. United Opposition is a collection of different political parties and of course the larger Kenya that believes that it's high time that we give alternative leadership to what Kenya Kwanza is offering right now. And we are keen on critical issues surrounding health, education, and of course economy, and most importantly to revise the taxation that will ensure that everybody in this country can start and run a business in a favorable environment that is a fair playground for any other person who wishes to invest. So in the United Opposition, we are keen at not just taking Ruto home, but offering alternative leadership. We are not in the business of taking somebody home. What we are looking at is offering alternative leadership opposed to what is being offered today. So if it is Ruto that must go home for that alternative leadership to be in place, then that should be.
Well, you are saying that you have other you have other promises that you have for the people. Yet, for the longest time, by the way, every other person feels that the united opposition do not have an agenda. Like the agenda that they are selling to the people, most of the time, people have seen it as it's not an agenda. It's not it's as an issue. So maybe you're going to tell us, because your leaders from the united opposition, anytime they are asked or anytime they want to respond to the president, most of the time they have been saying that is our agenda, and they've been so serious on it that this is our agenda. So maybe as a young person, you're going to give us a different perspective, or the agendas that you feel your team have, but they are not able to bring it out.
Okay.
Yes. So let's hear from this other side.
Yes. So I go by the name of Isaac Kariuki. I'm a youth leader from Kirinyaga County, where mostly I've been involved with running empowerment programs for the youth, with, let's say, with a bias towards technology. So collaborating with organizations such as Ajira Digital to just make sure that the youth are up to date with the current tools and technology that they can be able to leverage so that they can empower themselves economically. So today I'm looking more of trying to look at the current issues that we're facing and how they directly impact the current youth and how they are experiencing it, in the current reality, and how perhaps we can look at some of the tools of our generation to leverage, whether it is championing for better leadership, accountability, just even economic empowerment. This is how we can be able to just explore the tools and the opportunities which are availed by these new technologies to make sure that we empower ourselves towards a better future than the one that we have today. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. So I'm going to shout out to the people who are tuned in on our X platform. I see like over 2,000 people following the conversations here at Radio Generation. I have like 2,063 people who are still tuned in and watching from our X platform, which is at Radio Gen KE, and also on Facebook, even on YouTube. Please, that is where you'll be able to follow the conversation that we are supposed to have here. I don't want you to answer me about the united opposition right now, because we're going to start with something different. I want us to listen to this as we get into the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. I want to hear the youth perspective about this gender-based violence. So let's have a listen to this.
Na wakati wale wapendwa wanaulizia picha zao za faraga, wale wakina dada wanaweza kutuma zile picha za faraga kwa wapenzi wao ambao wako hapa nchini, na wale wapenzi wao wakati mwingine wanapokosana, pengine utapata wanachukua zile picha na wanazianika mitandaoni. Kwa hivyo akina dada wengi wamepatwa na misongo ya mawazo, wameweza wao wenyewe kuumia pia kiuchumi, kwa sababu mtu anamtishia kwamba usiponipatia pesa fulani, na yeye anajua kule anahudumia mwenye fulani kule Warabuni analipwa. Kwa hivyo utapata hata zile savings zake zote anatuma kwa njia ile kwamba anajilinda ili asiweze kuanikwa.
Wanakijiji wengi wamekosa kujua ni nini ambayo inafanyika. Wanajua sheria ziko, lakini hawajui hizi sheria zinasema nini. Kwa hivyo ningependa serikali ikuje chini, ieleze wananchi ni sheria hizi ni sheria gani na zinafuatwa kivipi.
Now, since we started the activism, it's usually 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and this year started on 25th and is going up to 10th of December. And this is one of the, gender-based violence takes different forms. We know that some are using the cyber. There's that bullying and so forth, like what she's pointing out at. Like I share my photos with you, private ones I share with you because I have confidence in you because we are dating or we are in love, and then later on when things go south, I find myself on the internet naenda kule na kutana na sura yangu. It is something that it is so much among the young people, the youth. So now I have young people here with me. I want to hear what you have to say about this.
It's actually interesting that you're talking about gender-based violence, because actually yesterday I attended a film at Parklands where we were going through a film by a friend of mine. We share a networking group called Niche Networking that is based here in Nairobi, and she had portrayed two characters. The lady who, after got into a relationship with a gentleman, right after college, went through some economic turmoil when they started living together, that culminated now to the gentleman killing the lady, and he ended up serving several years in prison. So that was more of like the back story, just to shape the context of how some of this violence, directed towards the opposite gender, can manifest. But more of the online, I think this is not only even a local issue, I think globally, given the new technologies that are emerging and the new forms of communication, given that instantaneous, that you can actually be able to maybe date and form a relationship with someone far off, and then someone weaponizing that level of communication to just share. Because even it's interesting, I don't know whether you'll be able to notice that, because even with my Instagram, X account, you realize a lot of like expose, people's
happening.
Yes, it's happening. So they get together at some point, and let's say something happens and becomes a big story, and you find it the big platform, big accounts, people just sharing this. So I think it's one of the things that we have to think around, just especially with cybercrime, just how we're going to enforce some of these emerging problems that I imagine as a result of the newer forms of communication that we have found, and especially if it has, let's say, a bias toward the other gender, it's even a bigger problem to see how maybe it can be able to get that through bid policies, just driving that level of change. So attending that film was very important, because these are just some of the narratives that we can drive in the society to show that, there's a different way of perhaps approaching some of these things.
Okay. This has also reminded me, I think earlier this as we were starting this month, there was also a rape case that happened in some place in Meru. Yes, around Meru. Apparently, these guys who are coming from a circumcision, initiation, whatever procession, and then there's this girl who was raped. So this is also forms part of the gender-based violence that is being perpetrated against opposite genders.
True.
So let's hear your submission, Ken.
I think it's something that we need to. GBV is very critical, and I think it's something that we need to address collectively as a community. Because when talking about GBV, we're not talking about women being beaten or women being assaulted or everything. We're talking about intergender war, men and women fighting. But I've always lived to the thought of if you are to protect each other, then it's an individual responsibility that I shouldn't even think of attacking you in the first place, whether it is through exposing you or doing anything. And then you also on that side, you should not even conceive that thought. Then we have a safe space for all of us to exist and coexist and do our stuffs. If person A and person B were in love or something or doing their stuffs and things ends, I think it's painful to end your stuffs, but we have to agree that even life, you are not going to live out of this life alive. At the end of the day, you must suffer some pain.
Something must
kill a man. And equally, a woman must also die. So whichever way, we must agree that we have to deal with the pain, but we must also be human enough to understand that when we came in with respect, then if you are living, we should live respectfully.
Sure. Yeah. Bedroom matters. Remain in the bedroom. Well, but again, I think as young people also, because a majority of these things are being perpetrated by young people. I feel like, especially the expose thing, and mostly it's by young people.
I think if you talk about young people and the social media and internet and everything, people have made it normal to try defame somebody.
Yeah.
So that to an extent that if I see you being defamed, that is where I find my joy. If I see you being defamed, that's where I find my joy. And that's why I say we need to actually grow beyond that and agree that we have a responsibility to protect each other.
Move beyond the clicks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that when I see something bad about you happening on the social medias,
yes,
I can step in and actually put a voice to it. And I think nowadays they say that you cannot.
If we have to eliminate,
you cannot
this
shame the shameless.
Yeah.
I think bad girl Millie Mabona made it more easy to deal with these issues. So that's such that if somebody is trying to use something against you, own it. If they walk outside there and say that Ken Babu is doing this thing A and B, I say, okay, fine. If you think that is what I'm doing, it's okay. If you own it, it will calm down. If you start defending yourself, they will keep on doing their stuffs and maligning you. So we need to.
But we also need to understand that not everybody is as strong as some of us.
Yeah.
So basically, you're looking at the emotional damage that really happens to someone. If right now, if today you realize that your private photos are circulating on the internet, it's quite unfortunate, and it really affects someone big time. Now that we have this other guest who is she's going to introduce herself. She's only. Now we are 2 days. Gender balance in the house,
50-50.
Yeah, right now we are 50-50. So again now, we are going to make the conversation more interesting. Yeah. So we were just touching on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and I cited the case that happened earlier this month about the girl who was raped in some place in Meru, and we are also talking about. I cited also the issue of use of private photos. We are in a relationship imeisha. So now you want now to make me feel bad by releasing those photos in the public. So that's what we are talking about. Just in just 1 minute, just give us a submission around that.
Thank you very much. So my name is Alionya Roslyn from the ODM party, the largest party in Kenya, in the northern part of Limpopo, in Europe, in USA, and some parts of heaven now that Baba has gone there. And I'm privileged to be here. The discussion you're talking about is very paramount, especially for ladies, because we are the largest numbers of the society who face this gender-based violence. And the case that you have highlighted in Meru, it's unfortunate that we are not hearing the women leaders' voices on the same issues. And I heard my brother Ken Babu say something about us learning to coexist with one another. And the truth of the matter is, for us to finish the gender-based violence, we need to bring the men on board so that we tell them, you don't need to hit a woman for you to speak to them, to listen to you. You don't need to rape someone for you to appear as if you have venged against that person. So if we continue having this discussion amongst women only, we might never win. So we need to bring men on board for them to understand that even if you raped someone's daughter, it's just like raping your own daughter. If you hit someone's woman, if you get these things that we do to women in politics, on social media, and by the way, the technologically facilitated sexual violence against women is on the rise.
Right now,
so
yes.
Nowadays, people will just abuse you. Don't have nice nyash. It looks like, I don't know, a mango. They will tell you about your face. Yeah. And I like what Ken Babu said. For me, people on social media will come saying my dental formula is not aligning. And I'm like, I left my house knowing that I don't have a dental formula like yours. And I am happy about my dental formula. So when you embrace the abuses that people give towards you, you like disarm them because they cannot continue using it against you. So when someone talks about your physiques, I don't know, your stomach is big, I don't know your what, you embrace it. Tell them you love yourself the way you are. That is the only way. However, I must acknowledge the fact that not all women are strong as the bad girl Millie, as some of us. And so I appreciate that the government passed the Cybercrime Act, and I think it needs to start working. If today someone produced images of me that I'm naked, I was having sex somewhere, either that are true or false, I need to go to court and get compensated for the emotional damage they have caused to me and the reputation, the destruction of my own reputation. So I think we might not be where we want to be, but we are somewhere. So we just need to amplify the voices, and we also need to bring men on board so that they know that this gender-based violence is not only a women affair. Even men can be abused.
Well, I like all those submissions, quite important. So we all agree that we have a duty, we have a collective responsibility to fight this giant. It's okay. Let me not give it a big name as if it is something good, but we have a responsibility to fight this as the activism continues. It's also important that also men take part in that. Well, let's move on to something else. This week, also on the 1st of December, it's World AIDS Day. It is a day that is observed to look at, the whole issue around AIDS and the stigma and the steps, the developments that we've made so far. So I would also want to hear a submission from each and every one of you around AIDS Day. Then, first of all, let me play this. Then now we can get your submissions.
We have the power to transform lives and futures, and then the AIDS epidemic once and for all. The progress we have made is undeniable. Since 2010, new infections have fallen by 40%. AIDS-related deaths have declined by more than half, and access to treatment is better than ever before. But for many people around the world, the crisis continues. Millions still lack access to HIV prevention and treatment services because of who they are, where they live, or the stigma they endure. Meanwhile, reduced resources and services are putting lives at risk and threatening hard-won gains. Ending AIDS means empowering communities, investing in prevention, and expanding access to treatment for all people.
Quite important. He has talked about that is Antonio Guterres talked about the steps, the progress that we have done so far. And again, it's so alarming that this year I saw some report about HIV and AIDS, the new infections, especially mother to child. They are saying that the numbers have started increasing. Yeah, the numbers have started increasing. New infections also, the numbers are also high. So I don't know, as young people, the youth, because they said between the ages of 15 mpaka, I think, was it 45, around somewhere there, new infections, the numbers have really increased. So I want to hear your submissions around HIV and AIDS. Let's start with him.
I think the first thing I would state about such a thing as HIV, it's good to maybe not even start with the political edge of it, maybe critique it as maybe a sociological issue that collectively we have to deal with. Diseases, whether it's HIV or any other disease, collectively, yeah. You have to think about even how the flu that we had, COVID, right? It really affected us in a way that you could not even have anticipated until it happened. So with HIV, I would say it's very important that we look at it collectively. At okay, it's sociologically, we would rather that it did not happen, And here we are, Well, the current government is doing something about it, and it's interesting that it's very timely that we're talking about HIV and its day, given that the health deal that Ruto was signing, it was touching on HIV and AIDS.
Yes, actually, yes.
To show that it's not only even a regional issue, it's a global issue. It's a thing that collectively, that if we're able to navigate around it, would be better. We'll be better off, as a species, as a people, because even for most people, if you have to imagine those who are stigmatized with HIV, they're perhaps not even able to contribute to the society. We are unable to squeeze out the genius that they might have. Those who die from even families that break apart, even the transmission from the mother to the child. So some of these issues, I would say, it's collectively. I think it's good to be on the right sides, all of us, that collectively, in the simple ways that we can be able to contribute and fight and then support those on the forefront, that we should do everything in our power to do so.
Let's hear from Ken.
Me, I've always maintained that there is individual responsibility in everything.
Yeah.
Before we do anything collectively, you as a person must take individual responsibility.
I like that.
So the fight against HIV and AIDS, before we tell people that you guys need to do this, and this, you as a person, what are you doing about it? Some of us, we've had friends who are positive, but that should not be the basis of now maligning and making them feel like they are out of the HIV and AIDS in 90s compared to what we have today.
Yeah,
is a totally different thing.
Sure.
In the 90s, if you are mentioned that you have HIV, you will be treated like you have leprosy. People will run away from you. And you will just die. You will just collapse and die. Today you will see people having HIV and AIDS, they are living in a healthy way and they are okay, and life is moving on. So I think we've made progress, and it's something that we need to accommodate as a community, because you must not just have it. I mean, you cannot just acquire it through sex alone.
There are so many other ways.
There are so many ways.
Yes.
There are so many ways. You can just wake up one day and go run test and you are surprised that you are positive. So what will you do about it? Maybe you are celibate. You are celibate and you are positive. So what are you going to do about it? You just have to find a way of coexisting and accommodating yourself within the community. So I think as a country we've made progress. We've still made progress. But we must not make it, like he has mentioned, we must not make it a regional issue. Because any time that statistics on HIV and AIDS comes, somebody must make it look like Homa Bay is leading. And Luo Nyanza is now leading.
Well, wait, but if it is a fact, let me ask you if it is a fact, because we are talking of statistics.
Yes, but I agree, because now that statistics is what is used to determine the amount of the ARVs and funding that are used. But now it should not be as a conversation that now spikes intertribal war. And when somebody steps the podium, says that, you get that? No, it shouldn't go that direction.
Sure.
Because we must exist.
True.
We must coexist.
Yes.
And if you feel like community A is are the engineers of it, what if there are people migrate to your side? What will happen? Because now you see we are also moving like wild beasts in this country. Today I wake up in Nairobi, tomorrow I'll wake up in Nakuru.
Yes.
The other time I'll be in Machakos. If you believe that we the Nyanza people are the ones doing the spreading the shit, what happens if a group of us moves to Nyeri, for instance, or Kirinyaga? So I agree with what my brother said. We need to make it a community issue, but before we reach there, you must also take individual responsibility and agree and make peace with the fact that this is no longer a killer disease like it was before, and people have it, and we need to accommodate them in our space. And those who have confirmed that they are actually positive must also accept this situation and live with those who are negative in a better way, so that we can live longer as we wish to.
And we are usually always encouraged to go and take tests. So that now you can know how to live. Because of course if you're HIV positive, there is a way you live in, like for example you'll have to get introduced to the ARVs and so forth. It's just for the sake of your health, you get which is quite important. So we saw the president went to the US, Washington, and we saw they have signed a deal, a new deal, US Kenya deal of 208 billion shillings HIV partnership aimed at ending AIDS by 2030. So I would like to hear your submission around that. I remember there is a time when President Trump took over power. I know Africa, the entire Africa, people were shaken because first of all he talked about stopping funding of these organizations that are, and majorly the organizations that used to deal with this kind of diseases. Yes, and again, and that is when Africans were reminded. I remember the former President Uhuru Kenyatta reminding Africans that wacheni kuteta, mnateta kwa sababu wamesimamisha. You have to, because he was a president here, and we are expecting by there also during his time, of course, he also needed to have made some steps towards advancing and making sure that tunakaribia pia sisi kupata solutions to this. I remember also Tanzania, they had an I think ni mtambo wa kutengeneza sijui ARVs or something. I remember so that is the time now people are calling and saying, oh, Tanzania wako nayo si waanzishe. So you get so let's hear your submission also.
I think I like what Trump has done, but now the problem with us as a country is the trust issues. You know, once you hear 208 billion, hapo una calculate, unajua labda kuna mwanasiasa atapotea na kadhaa. But if that money is used wisely, because I think Trump is trying to ensure that there are no middlemen. You know, the way they used to give NGO first and then the NGO comes to the country. I think the initiative they are doing is good, because if the government uses the finances very well, they create more jobs for people who will be doing the community engagements. They will hire more medics to ensure that people are catered for in terms of medication, in terms of support and counseling. But now we have that time as a country and as Kenyans to oversight these funds so that kama zimekuwa allocated for HIV prevention, for providing facilities to the patients who have HIV, let the money be used for that purpose. But then to add on what my brothers here were speaking about, I want to talk to my fellow Gen Zs. Unajua, the reason why I saw that report, I think it was in a week's time, where they were saying that the HIV has now started increasing in Nairobi. Sure. And to my fellow Gen Zs, one of the things that is making us maybe contract these diseases a lot is because of drugs. First, tunalewa sana na kuvuta weed. It is just the truth of the matter. And secondly, we are engaging in sexual activities a lot.
Anyhowly,
anywhere and with anyone, yeah? So I would urge my fellow Gen Zs, usijaribu kupima mtu na macho. Carry your condom, especially ladies. Don't leave this responsibility to the men only. Buy that expensive condom, have it in your bag every now. When you go to the club, when you go to hang out with the friends, the Airbnbs, the way they are having the trips, the way they are doing nowadays, that even taking cars and traveling to various regions, yeah? So usijaribu kupima your partner, your friend, your crush na macho. Take that responsibility, use protection, unless you people have decided to be in a committed relationship and you do the testing and stuff.
I think that's fair enough. Protection, quite important. Well, there's something you have talked about, accountability of these funds once they are brought in the country. I know when some NGOs might have seen this, I mean, when they saw this, I know some of them might have really felt bad because I remember the US saying that right now they don't want now to be passing through someone whom they are not sure whether this is really reaching the intended people. But now the question is the question of trust. That one which you've raised, because we are talking of right now as a country, we saying that we are paying some debts which I mean, we feel like these debts were not they were not really accounted for. I remember there is a law, they are saying that this law initially never really forced when you're borrowing any funds from outside, haikukuwa lazima kwamba ipitie katika the national kikapu cha serikali, so that now it can be utilized, igawanyishwe ikiwa pale. It never used to. So that is the time now people will just go take anaenda kufanya shughuli zake, and that's when now the issue of accountability now becomes a very big question. So now this one, we are hoping that this money now comes direct to the government, and now the government is able to account for that, for those funds. And then another thing I wish, I mean, we would really want the US, since you have given us the money, now you make these people also accountable. Ask for reports, strict reports of accountability, because I think, well, hiyo ni kazi yetu ya hapa Kenya, and that is now why we have a responsibility of putting these people to task.
Yeah, but I think it leaves a lot to be desired from us, because just scanning at it from a very bird's eye view, it's clear that how geopolitics perhaps is going to proceed moving on forward. It's now going to be government to government, as it has. That is a precedent that has been set, with this kind of deal that has happened. And that means the third party, the NGOs, that perhaps some of them which would have been good for doing this accountability, they are no longer there. So I guess it leaves more to be desired on our side. How do we develop solution of, let's say, audit trailing this money and how it's being used? Now, that I think a more in-house solution that collectively we know would be good for us. We're not going to wait for US to really know what has happened to the money. To be good that the money goes to where it has been allocated to. So how are we going to ascertain that, on a very national level, that indeed is the case? So it's coming up with AI solutions, audit trailing, blockchain. It's very important that we are very pro solution of, okay, the money is here, it's intended for some use that will be collectively be good for us. How then do we ensure that indeed the case? And that leaves now us to do the rest of the work. You can't just be passive passengers in this.
Yeah, I think maybe just weigh in on the issue of the money see, this money is coming at a time that we are almost heading to the electoral cycle. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful because if we just blink, we will see this money in the election campaigns. If you just blink, that's true. And Kenya should agree with me on this. If we blink, this money tutakutana nayo huko kwa mashinani, wananchi wakiikula.
But it's meant to go to the mashinani.
But now it will go to the mashinani.
Is it not meant to go
for the wrong reason?
No, it's meant to go to mashinani for that family, for that one person who is struggling with HIV and so forth.
I agree with you. It's meant to go to the mashinani through different mechanisms for specific reasons. But what I'm saying is, if we are not careful, we are going to get this money in the mashinani for political purposes. Get me? Panga laini. Salimia mheshimiwa ukitoka. So that's why I agree with what he said. We must be careful and watch it closely on the issues of accountability and the proper usage. You see, let me tell you, Kenya has got goodwill in the donor world. In fact, this is a country across the Africa that can be really funded, because if it's a matter of brain, we have top brains.
Sure.
We have investors. We have ideas, people who can think. But the biggest problem we've had as a country is transparency and honesty when resources are put in your hands. And it's not individual hands, because it does not even reach us. It's the person and the government at that time. We had Eurobond here. It has never been sorted up to today. Get that? We had the issue of Kamlesh Patni those times. Get that? It has never been sorted till now. We've got very serious issues. Many serious issues when it comes to financial management, accountability, transparency, and honesty. Now Trump has what Trump has done is to give us a drop of trust. He wants to see what can you do with it. And if we are not careful, we are going to mess it big time. That's why the regime, the government, and President Ruto has an individual responsibility to ensure that this money is put into good use, to ensure that he whips the relevant ministries, relevant officers, relevant directors, to ensure that the money that is being channeled for purposes of eradication and mitigation of HIV and AIDS is being used for the right purpose. That is it.
Yeah, and also to add on it, I think when we say we need to be responsible, one of the problems that is facing us as a country is that the parliament or the legislative arm of this government has stopped doing its work. It has been politicized more than its prior function of oversight, because this oversight role should be the functions of our area MPs to ensure that in the next coming financial year they will be at the floor of the House telling us that President Ruto received this amount of money. This amount of money has been used in this constituency, in these counties to do this, and this is what is remaining. So in as much as we are calling on Kenyans to be vigilant and to have their eyes wide open, it is high time we started calling our leaders to action, because these senators and these women reps and these MPs hawafanyi kazi yao. They are only loud when they need to find videos that needs to trend on social media, but they don't ask the tough questions, because whether you are in government or not, you need to do your rightful role of oversight, ensuring that money that came, even you as a member of parliament, your constituency received that money and used the money for the rightful reasons.
I think that's fair enough around HIV and those the agreement that was done. So this week, it's just a week. Is it preceding the by-elections that we had last week? Was it last week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ama nimesonga sana. Yeah, it was last week, and of course, we have had different views about the elections. We have had people saying that the elections were fair, free and fair. We have also had another number also saying that the elections were not fair. I would like to hear your perspective about those elections, and maybe what do you think maybe the IEBC would change from the perspective of the young people Because today, to the listener, today we have young brains in the house. We have young people in the studio, and they are the ones who are now helping us now analyze and review these biggest stories that happened in the course of this week. Because why I'm saying so is because there's this organization, ELOG, which faulted IEBC over lapses in by-elections, citing violence and bribery. Well, when we have violence, we have bribery, of course, you can be sure that the elections are not fair. So I just want to hear your perspectives. And we are not pointing fingers at anyone. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think let me first congratulate our, I don't know if I should say our broad-based candidates, but I think our ODM candidates did very well. They swept all the positions they contested in, especially for the members of parliament. I also want to congratulate the other political parties that I think got something out of this election. Nonetheless, the report that you have just read, it is true that there was, this election was marred with a lot of political violence, and I think it's high time that IEBC sat down and gave us a report of who was responsible for the violence in Malava constituency, who was responsible for the violence in Kasipul, without taking sides, without kufutafuta na kufunika macho. They should tell us so and so did it. And I'm calling on all Kenyans that if tomorrow IEBC came and said that this person from DAP caused commotion, this person from wiper caused commotion, you need to accept and allow them to be fined, because for us in Kasipul, our ODM candidate and the Aroko candidate, they, of course, they were involved in a lot of violence. And
just hold on there. Okay. Just hold on there, because we have a few seconds. We have 10 seconds remaining. I mean, less, 8 seconds remaining for us to get to the top of the hour. So we're going to get to the top of the hour, then come back and continue with the conversation. So do not go far away.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.
We have come to the U.S. Institute of Peace to sign a historic agreement that will end one of the longest running conflicts anywhere in the world, with far more than 10 million people killed. Today we commit to stopping decades of violence and bloodshed and to begin a new era of harmony and cooperation between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda.
Wale wanaohoji kwa nini 97%, hiyo ndio kilichotokea. Ni 97% ya waliopiga kura, sio ya Watanzania wote. Ya waliopiga kura ni 97%. Kazi imefanyika, kampeni imefanyika, na watu wameelewa, wamepiga kura. Na Mungu ni mkubwa, kwamba lile balaa walilianza saa 5 sijui 6, watu walishajipeleka mapema asubuhi, wakapiga kura wakaondoka. Mungu ni mkubwa.
Today's signing of the Washington Peace Accord for Eastern DRC is not merely a monumental diplomatic milestone. It is a decisive act to end a devastating conflict that has scarred the region for decades. Mr. President, what you have achieved is not only transformative, it is consequential and historic.
Na madaktari wala consider bringing into book the perpetrators of this heinous act. We are also perturbed by a letter that was unleashed by the county government of Siaya, purporting that no health worker was attacked. It is we who are on the ground, and we are very much aware of whatever incident that took place.
Today, there will be no healthcare worker in all our hospital for any matter of services until our issues of security in our workplace is handled decisively. Yes. Secondly, we want the perpetrators of such vile acts of cowardice to be taken action against. We request the police, we know you know your work. Please, by today evening, we want the perpetrators to face justice.
Mimi nilikuja hapa.
Improvement in service delivery is tied to timeliness of audit reports. I'm aware that the Auditor General has been advocating for more time to conduct audits and report to Parliament and relevant county assemblies within the stipulated timelines. In response, the government through the National Treasury have asked public entities to submit their financial statements to the Auditor General for audit by 31st August to ensure timely audits.
We also don't want to leave the boy child. I've had forums whereby I've been invited by different stakeholders to speak to the girl child. And I've spoken and told them, we need to change just talking to the girls alone. We need to have the boys in the room. We need to have the men in the room. We need to have the he for she. Because we've really empowered the girl child so much, we've forgotten the boy child. He's left behind. He's not able to match the thinking level of this girl. Because this girl has been really so much in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the skills.
More than 95% of all the surface water sources, including underground water tanks, water pans, and traditional catchments, have dried up. We require 40 additional water bowsers for domestic supplies and 37 water bowsers for livestock watering, as weakened animals are increasingly unable to trek long distances in search of water and pasture.
These female offenders who can serve probation orders come and stay in this environment that is a home away from home, and they can be rehabilitated. And very often their offenses range from child neglect of the family, petty offenses like brewing changa and such like things, which is predominantly caused by poverty. Community probation volunteers, they come from the community, like teachers, retired nurses, retired pastors, or even working pastors.
Was tested in the corridors of leadership. Economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks. These are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayoa, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
Yes, we are right back here on 88.8 here in Nairobi, Mombasa 90.7, that is Radio Generation. If you also want to follow us on our social media platforms, that is on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and even on YouTube, Radio Gen KE. Just go there. You'll be able to follow this conversation from your personal gadget. Yeah, si lazima ukae kwa jirani usikize. Yes, so quite important, because important conversations are happening here. We, together with my analyst. Tonight we are looking at the news at a deeper perspective. We want to shape opinions in our country and also inform decision making in the country, because we believe we all must do this together. So tonight, so many other stories we have discussed about, and before we went for the break, we were talking about the issue of elections, and our sister here had started. I know nilikuwa naona alikuwa ameshapandisha emotions. Please don't. Let's just do this together here peacefully, because the listener is really following the conversation. So for them that are tuned in, either on our frequencies, either on our social media platforms, thank you so much. Let's continue with the conversation. So welcome back. Continue with your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. I was congratulating our ODM candidates who made us proud in the just concluded by-election. And IEBC has tried in terms of transparency. They might not be perfect. They still have some work to do before 2027, but wamejaribu, especially when in Kasipul they was it penalizing or fining the candidates who are involved in violence, each one of them a penalty of 1 million. That was a show of non-biasness and ensuring that everyone who was involved in whatever level of violence was cautioned and warned. And so the only thing that I had, I think the IEBC Commissioner Mohoana Lutelala suggesting to us is the use of technology. And I think as a country we need to think in that direction so that we count votes in real time, so that we don't, in 2027, we don't have to wait for 7 days for people to sing in Bomas of Kenya, to dance for us before we know who is the president. So I think we need to, it might not happen very fast. There is some work to do in terms of connectivity in some areas, but I think we need to start thinking of how to digitalize our voting. And my call to action to my fellow young people, in as much as Gen Zs, people are faulting Gen Zs, I am sure that Gen Zs could not have voted in this election, and so we should spare them, but that does not mean that they need to sit at home and fail to register ahead of 2027. But I'm calling on my millennials, the people aged between 29, 30 to even 40. We did not see them during the voting day. And we are wondering, where were they? Because majority of the people who are voting were the elderly, and especially women. And I am a proud woman here today, because for us, when we say we are going to vote for you, we will vote for you even if you fail. We will fail with our vote. So I'm calling on the men in the societies. Wacha kukubali kutumika kama goon, tafadhali. Wewe attend mkutano ya watu. I know people are gathering in rallies, and the aspect of bribery that you have just mentioned, it was in both camps, because I think both camps were issuing money. The only people who are not issuing money are the young people who are contesting in these elections, because their pockets were dry, and those are the only people who are selling the manifesto to the people. So to the men in the society, hata kama unaenda campaign kuchukua pesa, tafadhali chukua pesa na pia siku ya kura enda ukapige kura. Yeah.
Okay, because you've talked of everybody was issuing funds, monies. I don't know whether you have proof who issued money, but thank you for your submission. Let's hear from Ken Babu.
Thank you so much. On the by-elections, I want to say that IBC has a very serious task ahead in as we run up to 2027 elections. Mm-hmm. I believe that if what we witnessed in Mbere South, Mbere North and Malava is what will happen in 2027 elections, then we are not likely to have a country, because the kind of violence that we saw on party agents, and the kind of voter bribery that we witnessed, and the kind of voter suppressions through violence and attacks that we saw, if we are going to have that happening in the entire country, then I'm certain that it might blow out of proportion. So IBC has a responsibility to call to order the perpetrators of this violence. And these are people they know, because we have public servants who are in these polling stations, and some of them took over the polling stations and even attacked the agents and did the counting of the votes themselves. So IBC must come on record and tell Kenyans, not necessarily the opposition, because it's not only the opposition that participates in the elections. It is everybody. They have a responsibility to tell Kenyans who who are perpetrating this violence, and to what extent should they be punished? No, it's not about. It should not just be a business of finding them, because these guys who committed these offenses have the capacity to pay those fines. So there must be a better way, even if it means barring them from holding public offices, so that they serve as a lesson to any other person who thinks that they can cause violence and arm people just for the sake of power. And I want to say this: if IBC is not going to respond to these issues of by-elections, then Kenyans have got better reasons not to have faith and trust in what's about to happen in 2027. Because IBC, the center referee, it should be, as honest, transparent, and neutral as possible. They should not appear like they are taking sides with any of the parties. And I want to say, on the issue of the young people voting, and my sister mentioned, Gen Z is 97 to 2012. Mimi nimesema na nataka niseme tena hapa Radio Generation, because I know the young people are listening. We must get serious. We must get serious. If we believe that Kenya Kwanza regime is not the right regime, or is not doing what we need to do, what need to be done, and we believe that we must take the president and his team home, that can only happen at the ballot. Then we have to turn up and vote. Making noise or agitating online, we did it 2024, 2023, and it happened, and it gave us the fruits that it could give at that time. Now we have to come up and vote. Number one, we have to ensure that we are registered voters. I don't understand why people are saying that. A young person tells you that I'm not convinced why I should take a voter's card. Did you come to Kenya yesterday in 2025? Were you not here to witness what happened in 2024? Are you not aware that we lost people? Have you not heard of Albert Ojwang? Have you not heard of Rex Masai? You didn't witness what happened in Parliament. A young person, a Gen Z, for you to sit back and say that you do not have any reason to go and register as a voter. We have to take responsibility. And I said individual responsibility first. Before you say you have to go and vote as a group, do you have a voter's card? Because you cannot, it doesn't matter how many people you are as a group. If you don't have a voter's card, each one of you will not make any impact. I was in Mbeere and I could see young people hanging around polling stations, and their reason was, we are protecting the vote. But if you ask them if they have voted, they have not voted. So you wonder, what vote are you protecting? You've not voted. So what vote are you protecting? Agenda 1 should be go inside and cast. Then now come stay around and protect provide additional security for any vehicle that would want to go inside, just in case there's vote staffing. Vote staffing. On the party popularity, I said this, and it's an observation that I made. Political parties play a critical role on whether people will come out and vote or not. People in Kasipul came out and voted for Boyd Were in large numbers because it was the ODM candidate. I'm telling you, if it was KANU candidate, you couldn't have seen that turnout. Why? For what reason? So, political parties must understand that party popularity still drives the kind of election and still motivates people to come or not to come. And on the party popularity, the parties must also ensure that they give people the candidate that they can inspire. You get that? And that's why when Rigathi Gachagua said that DCP did not feel a candidate, some people felt offended. But that's the truth. That's the truth. In the mountain, DCP is popular, but he did not have a candidate at the ballot. To some extent, there are people who could have just come out to vote because maybe DCP had a candidate. There are people who go to the ballot, to the polling station, and it happens mostly in Nyanza. They would come and say, nataka chama ya baba. They don't even know the name of the party, but because that chama ni ya ba, ama nataka chama ya chungwa. You get me?
Yeah.
Ama nataka baba na watu wake.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody was in the mountain, in Mbeere, who just wanted to come and say, nataka chama ya Rigathi Gachagua.
Yeah.
Ama nataka chama ya DCP. But that party was not on the ballot. So the political parties must agree that they also influence the turnout at the point of voting. And allow me land on this issue. Youth at the ballot. And I've said this number of times, and I want to say it here, and it should be on record, that it is high time that the young people must also be at the ballot to be voted for. It shouldn't be a business of, go and register and come and vote. Voting for who? You can also be voted. You can equally be voted. And I'm impressed that I've seen many young people coming out to declare interest in different positions. Unfortunately, if today my sister declared that she's running for Nairobi Women Rep, for instance, somebody will tell her, do you think you can run against Karen Nyam? Do you think you can run against Pasari? I believe that it is not about who you are running against. It's about what are you willing to offer. If those people who are running also cannot offer what you want to offer, let you guys meet at the ballot, the people will decide. And like I've always said, elections happens after 5 years. So if you make a decision, you're making a decision that you will live with for the next 5 years. So if it is good, you will keep enjoying the fruits. If it's a bad decision, you will suffer and endure the pain for the next 5 years. So the young people must also agree that they are coming to the ballot. And finally, we've been told times and times, and wazees have been saying that tuko na vijana wapi nyuma yetu. Mimi nataka niseme we've changed the conversation and going forward, comrades, tuko na wazee wapi nyuma yetu? Tuko na wazee wapi nyuma yetu? Vijana wako na wazee nyuma yao. Sisi tunaongoza, wazee pia wakae kidogo chini, waone jinsi ambavyo nchi inafaa iongozwe in a generational way.
Well, before we get to the other person, I think there's something that we've touched about the influence by the political parties, and again the young people not voting, but they are there guarding the votes that have been casted by other people. Well, I want maybe to remind the young people that you have a civic duty to vote.
Yeah.
Leave alone now because you want now to be part of the leadership. First of all, as a Kenyan, once you attain the age of 18, you have a civic duty, a responsibility to play. You are supposed to participate in the elections of the country. You are supposed to participate in the decision making of the country, like in terms of the public participations, all those things. You are supposed to participate once you have that ID. So, in as much as maybe you are not interested in a party, don't wait for a party to come and tell you now you must go and vote. You must go and take your voter's card. It is a responsibility. So me, I'm here seated like a journalist to remind you, to inform you that it is a duty that you should do.
True.
Yeah. So as young people, please remember that duty that you have. Why are you taking your ID card if you cannot? Because that ID card, it identifies you. And again, also it gives you that it's a ticket for you to participate in the nation building by voting, by doing all those things that need your participation.
Yes.
So quite important. So let's hear what the other analyst has to say.
You know, in technology startups, there is what we call a prototype, which is a moving target. You know, when you form a company, you realize you don't have the final product. You have the minimal viable that can resonate with the ultimate customer. So I think for me, the by-elections was a clear sign of what to expect. For instance, in the general elections come 2027, it has revealed opportunities for improvement, and that is across the board. Be it the strengthening of key institutions, just to echo what Babu have said, especially with IBC, it's very important that we get the institution right, because it's the ultimate referee that is going to decide who is eventually going to be crowned, the leader of the country. And it's very important that we strengthen that. Be it the electorate, the youth not coming out in large voter turnouts. We have seen the cases of violence, here in Nairobi, where we have tear gas, in churches. And I think, the story would have it that that was orchestrated by police in conjunction with the thugs. So you can see that clearly, if the government sort of making calls for such things to still happen, you can expect it. It's good to assume the worst, because good times will always take care of themselves. But the worst is what gets you in. So it's very important that we get the opportunities that have been revealed by these by-elections. We get them right for this coming 2026 year as we prepare for the general election, that we get the institution right, especially with IBC, and especially also for the young people. It's a very large population that's going to, for sure, have a significant say on who is going to lead this country moving on forward. And it's very important that they don't take a passive seat, they're very active. take the vote, make sure that you're registered and you're ready, because that is how you're going to decide who gets to lead you.
And I think to add on it, I have been telling my fellow young people that in 2027, people should not think that rioting will solve some things, because you see Baba, who was fighting for us, is not there, and the remaining politicians are all politicians of their own self-interest. They will not put themselves out there to protect you, and you will not call to action any government that you have not voted for. And I am calling on all young people, ensure you come out and vote, so that even if someone else wins that election, you have that ability to look at them in the eye and say, I didn't vote for you, I voted for person C, but I am asking from you accountability in terms of education matters. I'm asking from you accountability in terms of health and infrastructure. But if we sit down like the way we sat down in the by-elections, in 2027 and the years beyond, before 2032, you will not go to the streets to protest anything, because the first person will stop you from going out will be your parent, because atakwambia mimi nilitoka nikapiga kura, wewe haukupiga kura, so kaa chini utulie, serikali ifanye mambo yake. To avoid that, let us all go and vote, so that even if your candidate doesn't win, be it an MP, a senator, you can recall them on the mere fact that even if you didn't vote for them, you voted for someone else, and you require from them accountability and anything of good governance.
I think allow me just add to what my colleagues have placed on the table. You know, we talk about 75% of the population. In the 2022 elections, the youth were about 8 million. President Ruto won elections with 7.2. Raila got 6.9. If these 8 million people decided to vote in one basket, we could be having maybe a different president today. So I concur with what they've said, and still gets back to individual responsibility. Because for votes to be maybe sum up to 30, those it means it was individual person voting up to person 30. So the youth, we have to agree that if I have my vote, it is my responsibility also to ensure that Roslyn Alionya ako na kura yake, na my brother here ako na kura yake, and then them pia they will influence other 10 or 15 people, so that if you are 3 and everybody has 10, we are 30 already. Get that? Individual responsibility, then we put it together, it becomes collectively. I want to say that maybe we are doing so much politics and we are not focusing on the main issue. This country can move on without even people concerned about who is president or not, provided that the right thing is happening. And these are decisions that are made at the ballot. You know, in the 2027 election, we are somehow making it. I've heard people from the other end saying it's 1 term versus 2 term. We have to agree that the president is currently serving a term, and for the president, it's a different situation. He only needs to get us the report card, and then Kenyans will evaluate the report card and decide whether it is 2 term or 1 term. But for the opposition on this side, we have to provide an alternative manifesto and agenda to what is happening right now. And when I hear people say that the opposition do not have an agenda, I keep saying that the agendas that we have cannot suffice or cannot be implemented if President William Ruto is still the president, because he doesn't agree with what we are selling, and we do not agree with what he's offering. So then it means that for either of the 2 agendas to be implemented, one person must be out of the way. And that's why on this side we are saying that it is 1 term. It's not just 1 term from the blues. We want to deal with the issues of health. We want to put up a health system where you can go into hospital and get quality, timely health service. Mm-hmm. We are focused on ensuring that we provide an environment where you can get quality and relevant education, not just being educated and then you get what I mean? Quality and relevant education. Mm-hmm. And we are looking at an economic state where each and every person can start and run their businesses, and everybody can put something on the table. It does not matter whether the ugali or unga is 2 shillings. Provided that you cannot manage to raise 2 shillings, it will not make sense to anybody. Get it? Even if today the president says that people are going to eat for free, but you cannot find a transport to go to where you are going to a food collection center, that free food that will not make sense to you. So we are committed and focused on putting up a restructured economic setup where each and every person can be able to raise something and put up a living. And the most important thing here is fight against corruption, because everything starts and ends with that corruption. Where are we talking about, where are we skeptical about the HIV funds that have been released by the donors? We are uncertain, we are unsettled about those funds because we've had the pain before. Say once bitten, twice shy. Tumeumwa hapo mbeleni, and we are watching cleanly to see if these monies are going to be put into the right usage. Because if you are not keen, there shall be more scandals and more scandals. Before you know it, more Kenyans are going to die and the money is going to do the different thing. Finally, we must agree, and in the opposition we have agreed that we need to have proper institutional strength. The judiciary must operate independently as it should. The parliament must understand that it is not an arm of the executive, so that MPs should not be doing a business of praise and worship. Anytime you stand to the mic, you just want to tell us how the president is doing well. The president has a responsibility to tell Kenyans what he's doing, not the MP speaking for him. The MP should be oversighting what the president is delivering. So in the opposition, we have an agenda, clear, black and white. And that agenda cannot be implemented if William Ruto is still the president. That's why you have to do away with him. I'm seeing my sister is smiling in the spirit of broad-based.
You know. Let me say something, Ken Babu, because I think this is the first time I'm hearing a meaningful conversation from the United Opposition, and I think you need to vie for the presidency and not the people we see on TV. Because I've never heard Rigiji tell us what he's going to do for health. I've never heard Kalonzo Musyoka tell us what he's going to do. It is the first time I'm hearing from you, and it is wrong for you to say that whatever we have, I know. You cannot tell Kenyans because it is not doable now. We know that because we are going to vote in 2027. So, but it is only fair because even as in ODM, mtu kama mimi nilikuwa naamini kabisa that 2027 Baba will be on the ballot. Now he's no more. So I am a free molecule. So when you just come on the podium, the way you are saying that others come and praise the president, and you people are still doing the same. You just come on the podium and say how Ruto is bad, You're not giving us solutions. And let me tell you, you need to tell Kenyans what will you do for education, and now you see, you have said as a young person, these other politicians in this united opposition. This is
the voice of the opposition
are not bringing it out. I'm
talking. When you hear me talk about and give clear clarity on this issue of agenda, just know that Rigathi Gachagua is talking, Kalonzo is talking, Wamalwa is talking, Natembeya is talking, Martha Karua is talking. That clear agenda that I've given to people of Kenya, that is the plan of the United Opposition.
Well, and again, maybe what I would say as a Kenyan, now I'm speaking as a Kenyan, I have not seen that clear agenda you are talking about, because when you say you're going to offer better health services, you see, as a Kenyan, I'm looking at right now we are talking of the universal health care. So when you say you want to better that health care, at least you should tell people this is what you are talking about. Under the universal health care, the other day they have talked about increasing the amount that is meant for the cancer treatment. It has been increased, right? So we would want to, because every other time when people are electing leaders, we are looking at the loopholes, we are looking at the gaps the gaps that are there. So if this person, if we elect them, are they able to fill those gaps? That's what Kenyans really want to see. So my advice now to the united opposition, those are the things that Kenyans really want to hear.
I agree with you. What I've just given here is the bigger picture of how we want to deal with specific sectors, and there's nitty-gritties and breakdown of each and every. You don't.
That's what you don't want to expose.
This is our secret. If I expose this one here, if I break it down, tomorrow you will see the leader of Broadbase on the sunroof saying the same things. So I don't want to.
But is it bad now if this other government fulfills it? If now you say it today and it is working for the Kenyans, is it bad?
But the government has a better plan. They said they have better, which they are focusing on. That's why I said the president and the Kenya Kwanza regime, maybe broad-based inclusive, if they will be together by that time, should come to Kenyans with a report card. And then Kenyans will sit down and say, okay, better plan manifesto. You said this on health. You have achieved 1, 2, 3. Okay, education 1, 2, 3. Okay, economic empowerment. That is the report card that Kenyans need to get from President Ruto and his team. And then on the opposition, we will look at the report card and then offer an alternative to what has been presented on the report card. And so far, we've looked at the report card up to now, the quarter we are in, and we are surprised that nothing is working. Nothing is working. And so when you hear us say one term, when you hear Rigathi and the team of the opposition saying one term, we are saying one term because we cannot implement this if Kenya Kwanza regime is still in office. They have to give way.
Is the goal Kenyans?
The goal is Kenyans.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Kenyans are the common factor.
I don't think so, because you're being unfair. Please tell Kenyans, like me, I want to hear what does the united opposition have for me, because my presidential candidate is not there. I'm waiting for our party to tell us if we'll field a candidate or not. But as we wait, tell us so that we see, can we change our minds or can we continue to the other side? And on the issues that you have talked about, the report card, as an individual and someone from ODM, I had not even registered on SHA. But I have now decided that I'm going to register on SHA, so that if I say SHA is not working, I should be speaking from facts. If I say it is working, I should be speaking from facts. And I'm calling on all other people. We need to try. President akisema anajenga Mau Summit, nini, tuangalie. Akijenga, akifanya SHA ifanye, reconsidering him won't be a bad idea, rather than having this disunited opposition governing us.
Okay, let's see how your submission is.
Yeah, I just find politics, deeply tribal. You have to pick a side, you have to champion for it. But I'm always say solutions, because I think most of the problems that whichever side I think you stand on, some of these say problems, they tend to be similar. Whether it's economic stability within the country, whether it's accountability and transparency, they cut across the board. Whether it's the current government, whether it's the next one, and it's very important. The first meeting I think I had with DCP, the leadership secretariat of Kirinyaga, they're running on the slogan of "Skiza ground," and I remember one of the things that I had in mind was, following the 24. The finance bill and the process that ensued, there seems to be, let's say, a gap between the policy that are being implemented by the government of the day plus the people. There seems to be a disconnect. It is supposed to affect the people, but it is not for the people. And following that finance bill, I remember that perhaps that is a grounding of the slogan of Skiza ground, of DCP. But it made me think of such a, say, a platform or like a public policy scorecard that people are collectively able to vote in. Such solutions in technology, I think, having an inclination towards that are some of the solutions I think we can be looking at and saying, okay, collectively here we are, we have policies that are going to affect us, whether it's the local government or the current government, and it's very important that we are on the same footing of how can we best implement solutions that can deal with the problem of the day. So looking at the whole spectrum of just the dynamics of the different parties, whether it's united positions and kidding out, that is where I lean more towards DCP. I think it's very important that it's not just politics. What are the solutions? We have identified the solution. The current government is not doing a number of things. What are the real solutions that you can come up with, and you can persuade someone that yes, I have a better formula to the problem that we're facing. Whether it's health, it's education, it's going to be a problem for the next government. So how are we going to deal with it? Real solutions to the problems that we've all identified. Yes.
Okay, yes. So I think that is fair enough. But before we leave this topic alone, the topic around politics and so forth and parties, this week there is also that story about this governor from Abdiguyo. Yes.
From Isiolo.
Yes, from Isiolo, and what the court decided about, him publicly saying that he's in Jubilee, right?
Yes.
In UDA.
In UDA.
Yes, publicly displaying like acting like you're in UDA, yet you're in another party, and then now the party has come out now to say that he should be removed from the party and so forth and so many other things. I just want us to look at what the court said about. They said. The resignation, for you to say, to declare that this person is no longer in this party, there should be a clear resignation, written.
Yeah, true.
Written. So this is something that we keep on witnessing, especially with these political parties, these big political parties that we are talking about every other time. Is something that we've really been witnessing, and I think the court has given a good direction. A clear direction that these parties should use when making some of these decisions or pushing somebody out, because they seem like publicly they are supporting another party. So maybe your submission, one minute submission as we continue.
Okay. I think the court is right, because even as in ODM we are facing the same challenge. We mobilize a lot, we campaign for an individual, and once they set foot in power, they start dilly-dallying with other political parties. We have seen that with politicians from Nyamira. We have seen that in as much as we are not that harsh and ruthless to chase them away, but I think it's high time that when someone is elected on a political party, even the UDA candidates who are elected on a political party, but right now they are dining on the rooftops for the DCP party, you wonder and ask yourself, so will they run the agenda of UDA and ensure that UDA implements its manifesto? And I think as a country we need to inculcate in ourselves the aspect of loving political parties for the long term. Tanzania is not a good example for now to give, but one thing we must admire with them is the kind of ujamaa they have in their political party. Because once someone is a CCM person, they have been able to rule for very many years. Because there is no that hip-hopping of immediately after election. Because I've always told people that the importance of political parties is to ensure that after they win an election, they should implement their manifesto. And for them to implement the manifesto that they campaign through is the people they had in terms of legislatures, in terms of governors, they should remain intact and adhere to the values of their political parties. So right now, I would even say that UDA might be suffering a lot of things because of some of the UDA candidates who have gone to DCP. In one way or another, you are sabotaging your own political party. It is not able to implement on their manifesto. So I think moving forward, for someone to hip hop before we do an election to another political party, first you must resign and then seek election on the different political party that you are joining.
Okay, before I submit my point on that, I had something on that. Let's hear what the court said.
In our view, the petitioner made a barren claim that has not been substantiated. There is scanty information which in our view does not meet the evidential threshold for making a finding that the first and second respondent defected to UDA on the 2nd of June 2023. Without the evidence, we are unable to satisfy ourselves on the question of whether the conduct complained of constituted what is referred to as deemed resignation from a political party under Article 1 or this of Article 3 of the Constitution as read with Section 14A of the Political Parties Act. We thus find the petition lacks merit and is hereby dismissed. We make no orders as to costs.
The High Court has underscored the primacy of multi-party democracy in Kenya and that it will and shall be protected by the courts of Kenya.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation.
Well, you've heard what the court said, and this is what I mean, looking at what you're talking about, when you say that people have defected from a party to another, they are hip-hopping, like you're calling it, and I'm also looking at when we go for the elections, we have, like right now, we have the united opposition, we have the broad-based government. If today they went for the election, or let me use the example of the previous election, what happened, how much did the president win with, in terms of percentage of the votes?
50.49%.
That means if we translate this percentage, the winning percentage, and in terms of the Kenyans, the will of the Kenyans, you realize that 59% or whatever, 50%, they liked the manifesto of President William Ruto, right? But we also have this other person who got around 40-something%.
49.
Yes, 49%. There are also a 49% of Kenyans who also believed in those manifestos of that other person.
Okay.
So now we are talking of some other time. It is not bad to have, like, mtu akienda kule, does it mean that it is all done? Manake you can borrow some things from the other parties, because doesn't mean that, like, sasa kwa sababu wendo ulishinda na 50 or 49% na the rest, doesn't mean these other people didn't have something paramount that they can offer to the citizens or to Kenyans. I don't know what's your thinking about that.
Let me say that it's good she mentioned that UDA MPs are party hopping and are moving to DCP, and she didn't mention that ODM MPs also hopped to UDA.
Yeah, I mentioned.
And Jubilee. Oh, okay. Now, UDA had a manifesto in the run-up for 2022 elections, and it's good you put it. True. And these MPs were aligned to UDA through that manifesto. They believed in that manifesto. They believed that upon taking power, that manifesto shall be implemented to the fullest. To their surprise, when they took power, the guys that were leading the implementation manifesto ditched and decided to implement their own things. They decided to implement their personal issues. So the MPs are stranded. We are in touch with the people daily, but whatever we promised them is not being implemented. So what do? We have to detach. Upon detaching, they found solace in a party that speaks closely to what the people on the ground are saying. Skiza ground. Skiza wa Kenya. What are the people saying? The people are saying that SHA is not working. The people are saying that education, university funding is not working. The people are saying that the economic times are so tough to an extent that the young people cannot even imagine, leave alone getting married. Just the thought of having a girlfriend is criminal. You get that? So these MPs who are elected on UDA ticket, believing in UDA manifesto, having realized that the UDA manifesto is no longer being implemented, they detached themselves from that party and associated, did not join, they associated with a party that speaks to what they believe in. And that's why most of the UDA MPs are aligning to DCP. And some of the UDA MPs still are aligning to ODM and Jubilee, like you mentioned, the governor. But again, we must be keen on the protection of multi-party democracy. This is not something that we woke up one day and just found on the table. It was a bitter war that brought this multi-party democracy. And when you listen through clips of Raila Odinga talking about this thing, Gerald Otieno Kajwang the late talking about these things, you will get to understand the historical injustices, the pain that people went through for us to get this multi-party democracy. So we cannot say that because person A does not agree with that party, they should die there. You have the right and the opportunity to explore and engage on parties that align with your thought line, what you are thinking and what you wish should happen. So when the governor was elected on Jubilee, but in the long run, he realized that for his people, maybe, people think differently. He thought that maybe for his people to get the services that he wants to deliver, he has to align. That's why he decided to align with UDA. But he cannot, and he has not resigned from the Jubilee party. You get that? Because if he did that, then there will be a violation in Isiolo. He hasn't resigned. So the court pronounced itself in the defense and protection of multi-party democracy. That one I agree with it. But we must also agree and give members of parliament leeway to associate with parties that speaks to their voices and speaks to their hearts and speaks the language of the Mwananchi. Yeah.
Let's hear your submission around that.
I've always puzzled at what the first problem, or one of the problems that any politician who is elected, gets to face. And for me, it appears that you have the incentive of thinking to yourself, how do I get re-elected? You can hear it in the slogan. It's either 1 term, 2 term, right? It's echoed in, how then do I make sure that, right, if I've been elected for 1 term, I'm back. So it is good to look at it through the lens of some of these leaders. For instance, I come from the Mount Kenya region and it's from Kenya, and the reality in the ground is that the popular party that you can run right now that has predictability value, that you can predict that you're going to win, that's your DCP. So any player who is in the current government can look at it and be very objective and think to yourself, okay, when it's time to exit the stage, I am going to make the jump. You know, and that is just pure incentive. Just a politician, purely incentivized to survive in the next government. Now, I think there's a way you can be able to incentivize good party rules to make sure that due process is followed and people are able to maybe resign in the current parties to be able to move into the next one. But I think it's good to critique it from to look at politicians as sometimes human beings trying to survive. And there's strong instinct, to look at the play and look at the stage and think to yourself, okay, how am I going to for the next one?
And I think, let me just welcome politicians to ODM party, because if you look at the number of people who have hip-hopped from one political party to another, the largest is coming from these political parties that are just formed few months to elections. So I'm welcoming people to ODM party where we live by the rules of the principles that Baba taught us. They live within us. We do not run away from them. We deal with the issue. Ken Babu is saying that when you find the party is not doing what, you run away. As a leader, you should not run away from problems. You are lying. You're not running away. You're aligning. You should solve them, because these people have realigned, I think, almost immediately after election. So how will they solve the issues of the people? Ken Babu has said that these people need to listen to what people are saying and speak the language. Sometimes it is not always the mandate of politicians to speak. Sometimes it is also a moment for politicians to act. Sio kila saa tu propaganda. Wakae hapo kwa chama yao wafanye.
But I think that's fair enough. That's why they listened and they acted by moving away from UDA.
It does not help the citizen, the normal mwananchi.
Okay, let's get back to what's main here. Again, this week, politically, I just want us to sum up all the issues around politics, so that now the next hour we're going to talk about something different. So this week also we saw the former Deputy President Gachagua dismissing claims of there being a rift between the united opposition, and now that we have the youth leader here of the united opposition, I don't want you to talk for so long. 1 minute, lakini kabla uongee, wacha tusikie vile Gachagua alisema.
Sawa.
Candidates. On Sunday, I said that DCP is in talks with Wiper and other parties in the united oppositions, and we have looked at the formula in Nairobi, regional composition, party loyalties, and past performances, and we have come to the conclusion that the united opposition can take 16 out of 17 seats. We have looked at the history of the voting patterns in Nairobi, and we are convinced that the united opposition, where DCP and Wiper are strong partners. If people think that they can create a wedge between us, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka led the DCP campaign in Magarini. That is how close we are. Tupigie Kalonzo makofi.
Thank you so much. It's good that you've played that clip and we've all listened to it, and we've heard the context of the conversation. Gachagua spoke on Sunday in Kariobangi North during the prayer service. Wanyoike, the DCP MCA, and he made a statement which was seriously misquoted by the media, and I want to put it on record. Gachagua said that DCP will field candidates in Nairobi. He did not say that DCP will field Kikuyus in Nairobi. You get that? Just like any other party, you would wish that as a party, you wish that your party fields everywhere. If he says that DCP will field candidates in Kisumu, does it mean that everybody who's run on that party in Kisumu will be a Luo? No. So the point was the context. The speech was removed out of the context when he mentioned that 15 out of 17 constituencies will be contested by the DCP party. But it doesn't make any difference. We were in Azimio, and Raila did not say it, but ODM fielded almost the entire Nairobi. So the difference with the Muzee, the late, and Gachagua is Gachagua said it, that we will field in the entire Nairobi. But I was in Azimio. Muzee did not mention that thing, but we ended up having ODM candidates everywhere in Nairobi town, in Nairobi county. 85-17, and they got good performance in that. So what I want to make clear is this: there is no disunity in the United Opposition. In fact, we are joined at the hip, and nobody is moving away because we have a clear agenda and we have a clear call. The opposition is not just Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, and the principles you see. The opposition is bigger than what we see on TV. Because when the Gen Zs went to the streets to put this government to question, none of those leaders told them to go. They identified a problem and they said enough is enough. And these leaders saw the problem that the Gen Zs were pushing for, and they aligned with the young people. They aligned with the larger populace of, the Kenyans. So the opposition is bigger than what we see. The leaders that we have there are just individuals with the capacity and the platform to speak what maybe other Kenyans could not voice out. So on the issue of Nairobi County, that one was sorted, and like he mentioned it, he gave a clarity on it that the United Opposition will agree on the best formula. But at the end of the day, the most popular party that has got the capacity to bring the maximum numbers in Nairobi will be given an opportunity to fill the maximum candidates. This is a conversation that is there. Even the broad base today, if they were to field, and the 24,000 votes of Kalenjins, I'm told there are 24,000 somewhere in the corner of Langata. If the broad base was to field, I'm telling you, from here, ODM will have a bigger chunk in Nairobi because of its capacity and possibility of delivering. The same way in the United Opposition. If we are going to agree on the formula of fielding, we must give an opportunity to the party with the capacity to deliver majority.
Okay. As we continue, I don't know what you've said about we are not being tribal here.
No.
So please withdraw that.
About
you've touched something about the Kalenjins or something.
No. That one. Okay.
Yeah, please clarify fine. Withdraw it because we are not being tribal here.
Sure, we are not being tribal. The point is,
yes.
If you look at the statistics of electorates in Nairobi County, Kikuyus are leading, Luos, Luyas, Kambas.
But these political parties are not about.
I'm not referring to political parties. I'm referring to vote in terms of voter statistics, voter registration. Yes. Even if you go to Kisumu, you'll find Kikuyus in Kisumu who are voters there.
Sure.
But they are not majority. So those are bare facts that Kalenjins are not majority in Nairobi in terms of voting. Yes, that is what I put on the table. That if you look at that clarity, the IBC register, these regions have got different numbers in terms of voting. But these parties are not regional parties. And that's why Rigathi Gachagua is the most fought opposition leader today. Because when he comes out and talk, people imagine that he's talking for Mount Kenya. DCP is not a Mount Kenya party. They just won elections in Narok. Narok is not in Kiambu. They won elections in Kisa East, the hometown of the home village of Francis Atwoli. That is more than 400 kilometers away from Nyeri, Wamunyoro. Get that? So this part, the same way UDA won elections in the previous elections, won seats outside Rift Valley. These are not regional parties. These are national parties, but there must be grounding where a situation, a place where if you enter, people feel like you are now having your base. Today, if you go to Homa Bay, you cannot dispute the strength of ODM in Homa Bay. Does it mean that ODM is an Homa Bay party? No, it's not. It got seats in Narok, Kajiado as well. So I want to land by saying that we are not selling ice cream. We are not in the business of selling ice cream. And Rigathi Gachagua equally should understand that he's not selling ice cream. So everybody will not love him. He needs to keep doing what he's doing. If it's injection, inject proper. If it's giving direction to the people who will listen to you, everybody in this country has people who listen to them, including my sister Alion. She has her own constituency, which will only listen to her alone. And if she says that Ken Babu is wrong, they will not even take time to think about it. They just believe that Rosta Mesem, Babu is on the wrong side. So equally, Rigathi Gachagua also has a constituency that only takes instructions from him, and we must give it to him. So he is not in the business of selling ice cream. He must understand that not everybody is going to love him. People are going to come with issues. George Atembea the same. Kalonzo Musyoka, we've had issues around people talking about Kalonzo Musyoka is soft, or Kalonzo Musyoka cannot take Ruto head on or something. we must agree that there are people who are not even Kambas who believe that Kalonzo is the man. There are people who believe that Natembeya is the man. There are people who believe that Wamalwa, Rigathi Gachagua, Martha Karua are the people to take president home. So we have to make it as clear as that.
Still having 3 minutes remaining.
I'm seeing my sister.
I don't know whether she's going to respond. What I'm asking, because I wanted to task you to tell us what was Kalonzo's response to Gashagua's statement.
Kalonzo said that there is no actual agreement on how to divide Nairobi. And that's what I'm saying. I started by saying that Gashagua's statement was taken out of context, because Kalonzo was not responding to what Gachagua said. Kalonzo gave a communication based on what the Star, Taifa Yetu, reported, that Gachagua rattles opposition and takes over Nairobi. No, that was not the case. That was not the case.
But him coming out and saying it publicly, means a lot. I know, and has a very big impact already. Yeah, so it's something to think about.
It does. I agree. Yes. I agree. But I'm telling you here, I'm seated here, and you need to put it on record, because next time I'll be here and you'll be asking the same question. The United Opposition is a consultative forum, not only for the leaders and even for the Kenyans. May I sit there? I'm not as old as they are.
Okay.
I do not. Let me just land. I do not have the financial muscles as they are.
We have 1 minute.
But yes. let me just land and put it on record so that my broad-based sister cannot start injecting us. We are united. We are united at the hip, and nobody is going away until we actualize and deliver one term.
Let me just tell my brother one thing. Uko mtaani wanasema every time Rigiji opens his mouth to speak, he adds 300k votes to UDA because of reckless remarks. And so you just have to take it today, because his statement started from something. He started saying we have businesses, we are the majority, and then we will take seats. So it was not taken out of context. You just need to advise, because you are there to advise these elderly men. Waambie, wajue ni national figures, waongee national language. And the fact that you are not united. That is why Rigiji could not make it to Kakamega. Yes, was it yesterday or the other day? He could not. You want to say even Cleophas Malala could not donate one of his choppers to ensure that he goes, that he had to talk to people.
Those are small issues.
That means he has not been accepted in Kakamega. You know, you need to take correction seriously. The people of Kakamega have not yet accepted him. They might have accepted DCP as a party because of Cleophas Malala, but there is some work he needs to do with regards to his mouth.
Well, we have few seconds remaining for us to get to the top of the hour. It's time really flies here at during the Generation Report, because the conversations are quite interesting here. So for those of you who are listening at home, Radio Generation.
It's 9 o'clock.
Soul.
The young people is important, because young people are actually at the center of everything that happens in the country. Earlier we were discussing about the median age of Kenya, which is 19 years. So whenever we work with the Gen Z, actually that is working with Kenya. But specifically today we wanted to touch on Scale Up project, which was supported by the US Embassy to build the business ecosystem within the coast, but also support some of the entrepreneurs.
Tomorrow evening there'll be a signing of a 5-year health agreement between Kenya and the U.S. And I'll save the details for after the agreement is signed. But we've been negotiating really to work as a partnership on the work that we've already done in Kenya for the past 25 plus years, and HIV and malaria and tuberculosis. And this is going to kind of take it to the next level. But it really is a historic new framework. We're very, very excited about it. The Ministry of Health and teams in Kenya worked very closely with our embassy.
If we have to eliminate this threat by 2030, we must do things in a way that we have not done them before. Even if that sex education will have to be approved by the church.
To make sure that we make it lighter for everyone who is living with HIV, to make it lighter on the socio-economic burden, the things that families have to go through to decide on care. And sir, this is really what we are doing right now, called integration and consolidation.
The Jukwaa report. May I request that we all sit down? The rest of us can sit down, kindly. And Your Excellency, in 3, 2, 1, and the launch of the report. Ndio hiyo basi, Jukwaa la Usalama report. After extensive collaboration and interaction with the people on the ground, we now have the report ready. Your Excellency, just as a sample, allow me to also invite a few who are going to receive while you're still there so we can remove the buzzer. And I'll invite CS Public Service to come and receive a report on behalf of the public service.
According to the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, by 2022, the rate of gender-based violence and other forms of violence in Bungoma was at 62%. Meaning, out of 10 women, 6 of them, they have been violated in one way or another. So meaning, Bungoma is actually one of the leading counties in the country on the cases of violence. We were given statistics of the cases that are in court currently for this year that are going on in our courts in Bungoma. And the data does not speak anything better. It's like our situation is not changing.
In our view, the petitioner made a barren claim that has not been substantiated. There is country information, which in our view does not meet the evidential threshold for making a finding that the first and second respondent defected to UDA on the 2nd of June 2023. Without the evidence, we are unable to satisfy ourselves on the question of whether the conduct complained of constituted what is referred to as deemed resignation from a political party under Article 1 or this of Article 3 of the Constitution, as read with Section 14A of the Political Parties Act. We thus find the petition lacks merit and is hereby dismissed. We make no orders as to costs.
The High Court has underscored the primacy of multi-party democracy in Kenya and that it will and shall be protected by the courts of Kenya.
Vijana mumeona through sports. Vijana mumeona through MYS. Muliona wale vijana walitrainiwa MYS hapa, si ndio? Si they came na wakapata vyombo vya kwenda kuanza kazi zao. Kuna wengine muliona wamekuja hapa, nimetrain, wamepatiwa driver's license, wamepatiwa bodaboda license na wamepatiwa digital certificates. Wengine wao saa hii wanafanya kazi kwa mitandao. They are selling through mitandao. Saa hii tumeweka kazi ya ngarisha mtaa. We will be engaging 3,000 youth every month. Wafanye kazi Machakos. Now they will get the minimum wage, which is about 600 and I think 50-70. I am taking 4,500 youth and they are being taken from the villages. Tumeadvertise mikutano itakuwa huko kwa sub location na villages. Vijana wachukuliwe 1,500 youth service, 1,000 driving, 1,000 bodaboda, 1,000
mtoa habari kwetu na hatua itachukuliwa haraka iwezekanavyo, na sisi tuko hapa kudumisha amani na tutakubali mwananchi yote ama mtoto yote wa hii nchi adhulumiwe na wakora.
Gatuzi letu tumeweza kuanza kuona visa ambazo vinaongezeka vya kulawiti watoto na pia visa vya kudhulumiwa kutumia njia ya mtandao ambazo zimeweza kuanza kuongezeka, na pia tungeweza kushukuru jamii kuwa wameanza sasa kupiga ripoti kuhusu visa za wale ambao wako na shida ya kiakili ambao wamekuwa wakidhulumiwa.
Shida ya watoto wetu ni nyinyi mnasababisha. Defilement cases, mzazi anaficha hata kuja kuripoti hiyo cases. Ni mtoto wako anaumia. Remember hiyo kitu bali itaishi kwa kichwa mtoto wako. Hata ukimzuia asikuje kuripoti, itamuaffect in future kwa akili yake.
Was tested in the corridors of Economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks. These are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayoa, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
The Generation Report on Radio Generation. This is on 88.8 here in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa and its environs, and also on social media platforms. So that is on X, Instagram, Facebook, and also on YouTube. You get us at Radio Gen KE. You are able to follow the conversation that is happening, and the conversation is quite interesting. Because the news, the big news that we had this week, of course, they make the conversation so interesting. And of course, I have great analysts in the house, the young people who are aspiring for these big seats that we are talking about. The young people who are saying now, it's no longer wazee wako nyuma yetu. It's about now. The vijana wako nyuma yetu. It's now about wazee wako nyuma. That's the new they've come up with, and okay, it's fine. It's fine. Depends on what they really want to achieve as young people. Well, before we went for the break, we were talking about around things, issues around elections, and Ken was really defending the united opposition. We heard apparently what the former deputy president said about the united opposition and the seats that they want to field for in Nairobi region, and it seems like it didn't sit well with many people and even the analysts that I'm here with. So you are responding to what he said. So I want us to make it a 1 minute thing. 1 minute, so that now we can get back to, we get to other issues.
Yeah, I think part of whatever I wanted to say I had largely mentioned, but I just want to send him to his disunited opposition and advise them, because you are at a high-ranking position, and I know you can tell them that the youth are saying this, because as I have said, every time he talks, he adds 300,000 votes for the current government. So it is even better if he just appears in political rallies and keeps quiet, so for people to know that he's there, and allow people like Kalonzo Musyoka or people like Nachembea to speak. So I think moving forward, you just need to tell him that, because he has continued to come out as a tribalist, so he needs to refine his appearance in public, because as Kenyans, we want to hear, what does the united opposition have for us? We don't have to think about DCP, but the way he behaves every now and then, even the statements he made about the DP candidate in Beere. When you have lost an election, you don't come out and say, even he was not my candidate. I was just campaigning. It means that you didn't even have faith in that person in the first place. You need to support them and even encourage the voters and tell them that he might have lost, maybe kura hazikutosha huu uchaguzi, but in 2027 we will support this candidate to whatever level so that he wins the elections. And before I finish, I want to address the remarks that he made about ODM party. People outside ODM are beginning to speak for ODM more than the people in ODM. For him to come out and allege that our party has been sold, he will have to tell us who sold it to who, because he has caused various egregious accusations to our chairperson, which is wrong also, because he needs to focus more on uniting the opposition rather than telling us about who has sold or who has not sold the ODM party.
Okay.
It is interesting because I was physically actually in that meeting where he was making those remarks.
Let's hear your submission. No, Ken, that's enough for you. Let's hear your submission.
Now, for sure, his personality perhaps doesn't have maybe the national appeal that perhaps most people might say that would position you to have that appeal for maybe gathering votes across the board, and that is why perhaps he's seeking alliances with other political leaders. So, but I don't know what to think about his personality and how he's been conducting his politics. But I have to say, it falls on the both side of the spectrum. There is the talk of it being Mount Kenya region kind of party, but they've been able to get a vote, outside the county. So there are all these dynamics that they're playing, and it's hard to say how it's going to play out, moving on to 2027, and how his positioning is, especially with him being a presidential candidate.
Well, because we've touched the issue of the speech, maybe let's also talk about hate speech during this period of electioneering, because we are heading to, I know, tunaenda to Christmas. Once we are back, I know people are going to get a full throttle in politics. That's what we are expecting in 2026. So I just want you to, in just also 1 minute, tell us maybe the issues to do around hate speech with our politicians and those reckless remarks that they are making all over. Not only Gachagua and just every other leader. I remember there is sometime that the president was calling them brainless. He was in Ukambani, I think, that particular time. He was in Ukambani, and those are remarks that did not sit well with many people. And again, we don't expect this from our leaders. So I'm starting with you again.
The first thing my observation has been that, as you've mentioned already, after Christmas, we've full blown, with 2027 elections. I would say the fever is on. And in the heat of the moment, it would appear that it is good to perhaps assume goodwill from the part of the election, because I don't think in terms of hate speech, it's really something that you can institutionalize, It has to come from the leader, and with the politics favor, come to 2027, you expect a lot of this flying of words, and sometimes it's from key political, figures, whether it's on a national level, and they are both, to be accused of hate speech, wherever it's coming from. So I think it's an appeal more to the leaders, perhaps, and to really conduct politics around common issues that are affecting us, whether it's the health that we're talking about, and just avoid maybe the theatrics, which are part and parcel of the day-to-day politics that people seem to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Ken?
Hate speech is something that we must agree that divides a country more than any other thing. And NCIC must now take up responsibility and deal with this issue once and for all. If you are found, or you don't even need to be found, because these things you say them in the public, and the records are there, videos are there, people see them. So once you have spoken and it is not in line with the ethical and integral issues that, lines that we need to embrace as a country, the NCIC needs to take up on you, regardless of who you are. Because we've had these things both sides, both in the leadership on the opposition and the leaders in the opposition and the leaders in government. It's not an issue of pointing fingers at who is doing what and who is doing it badly. We have to be responsible as a country and agree that hate speech and ethnic mobilization, ethnic attacks must come to an end, so that we can have a country where people live freely. At the end of the day, I don't think there's anybody who is going to run away from this country.
That's true.
Even if you ran away from this country, you'll die and will be brought back here. You get that? So we have to, NCIC needs, that's why I talked about strengthening institutions. NCIC needs to be strengthened properly, financed and resourced properly to deal with anybody. Because these are things we've heard from some members of parliament who are aligned to the government, and unfortunately, they go ahead and say that nothing can happen to them. And it's the same people who comes out and say that NCIC is toothless. The same NCIC that the government should be funding and ensuring that has got enough capacity to deal with these messes. So we have to be realistic, and we have to be honest with the conversation. If you want to end the hate speeches and all that comes with it, we must take responsibility as a country, and everybody must step up to call it out. But all said and done, the relevant institutions that deals with these issues, NCIC, ESCC, ESCC on the issues of integrity and all that, ODPP, charges and everything, your file should not be flipped and kept under the bus just because you are person A, you are in government, or somebody. No. If you want to sort out a mess, in fact, we should deal with the big boys first. Then the small chicken here will get afraid of making the same mistake. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think to add on the same, I think Kenyan voters are now very wise. They will not vote you on the amount of abuses you made in a political rally, and I think that's why some people lost in Bear and all, but they just can't agree. But as Ken Babu is putting it, these bodies that he has mentioned, like the NCIC, we have not had or seen them coming out to try and bring down some of these sentiments that are being made by politicians. Even the courts, even the church, you should not take sides. Hata kama mtu ni wa kwenyu, kama amefanya kitu mbaya, just like the way people came out to ridicule the governor of Nyeri, it should be the same measure without taking sides. Even if it's someone from ODM, if they make reckless remarks, if they make a lot of hate speech, we need to call them to action and tell them we will not win elections, we will not win votes, we will not lure people by the amount of abuses and the insults we make to our competitors.
I think that's fair enough. Just to remind the listener, this is the Generation Report right here on Radio Generation on 88.8. That is our frequency right here in Nairobi and its environs, and also in Mombasa 90.7. You can as well follow the conversation through our social media platforms. Our Facebook, we are live and direct. If you go to X platform, we are also live and direct. If you go to YouTube also, we are live and direct. Please, you can do so. You can follow us also. You subscribe and do the necessary, because the conversations here are quite interesting, quite eye-opening, and they are so informative, because we usually have interesting guests like tonight. Us having these young brains, young people really helping us look at these big news that made headlines in the course of this week. And of course, we are correcting each other, especially calling out on the politicians who are misbehaving, who are making reckless remarks outside here, and this is really affecting the peace of the country and bringing disunity, which is not right. So us moving to the next thing, and this week also there was the issue of the impeachment of the Nyamira Governor Nyaribo, and we also that the Senate saved him. The third time that he was in the death chamber, and he was saved actually. So I just want to hear your submission around the saving and around the whole process of the MCS impeaching him in those big numbers and those aspects that made now the Senate to save him. Yes, so let me play this first.
Finally, but not least, the county assembly has come here for justice, looking for justice. So has the governor. It is therefore makes us stronger, more credible, more fatherly by hearing both. Let the PO be determined after we have heard the whole manenos, the whole issues, then we make a decision. I want to defeat in my submission the points raised by the Senator of Kericho, leader of majority. It is bigger than what you think.
It cannot be used to be a political weapon or try to intimidate or to coerce, Mr. Speaker. That's why this House must follow the law. And we must follow the law from the beginning, Mr. Speaker. Because we have heard here, even from the leader of majority, it has happened before. We had governors who were impeached by the Senate, yet there was no threshold at their county assemblies when they were impeached. That is the governor of Kiambu, Governor Waititu, the governor of Nairobi, Governor Sonko. We have had two cases of governor of Kericho, who is currently sitting. In Meru, we also had almost something similar to that, and this one, Mr. Speaker. So we should use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to ask ourselves, now that we have seen there are rogue speakers out there in the county assemblies, do we enhance our standing orders to make sure that the speakers must stand here even before the governors stand to take an oath and say, yes, I'm here and I brought these numbers, and they can be held personally liable, Mr. Speaker, because we do not have to agree with anything that comes from the speakers from the county assembly if we are not given an opportunity to scrutinize, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, should we also ask that we be having Hansard live footage and coverage when these impeachments are going through? Mr. Speaker, should we be asking for signed confirmations by the MCAs who have impeached someone today here? And I will demonstrate that today, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to voting, by not voting through the processes, to show that I'll be called over there to go sign somewhere to show how I voted. Can't we ask the members of the county assemblies, when the impeachments come, they should sign somewhere, I voted this way. So that, Mr. Speaker, we do not eject governors because someone somewhere played politics, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that was basically like a few minutes to the decision by the Senate. After this, now it was just around 30 minutes, and then now the Senate made the decision. I think 30 to 1 hour timer. So the governor was saved. Of course, you know the accusations around the impeachment. And I just want to hear, you've heard what Bon Halale has said, so we just want to hear what's your take about these impeachments that we are seeing with the MCS, and is it really justified most of the time, or are they playing politics in these impeachments? So let me start with you.
Thank you. From where I sit, some impeachments are of interest to the people. And some impeachments we've seen where the MCAs are just playing politics, and the area kingpins are also playing their politics. In fact, counties where the senator is also interested in becoming a governor, there are troubles. We saw what happened in Kericho with Governor Mutai. That was very unfortunate. And if you follow through that impeachment from the from the ground up to where the Senate saved him, even there are MCAs who are saying that there's one MCA who said that he just received a message that he has voted to impeach the governor, while he himself was not at the county assembly. So you ask yourself, who voted for him? You know, we've had issues of impeachment, and if you look at it, if you narrow down, you realize that the speaker is interested in the governor's seat. The deputy governor is interested in the governor's seat. So you don't get to understand where do they draw the line that this guy has maybe has squandered the resources of the county and therefore deserve to be impeached. There is no that clear line. There is too much politics in it. What happened in Kisii? Not Kisii, in Nyamira for Nyaribo. Nyaribo is surviving for the third time, I think.
Yes.
This is the third time. In fact, he's a man with 9 lives. Even if he was to be brought back here tomorrow, he will still survive it. Because Nyamira is one county which has survived with 2 separate assemblies for some good time, where one speaker oversees the sitting in his own house, the other one operates from the county assembly. That is Nyamira for you. And the governor was being impeached because he had refused to meddle into that differences of those guys, because he had tried to bring in solution, but the 2 egocentric men were not willing to be sorted out.
But that's according to you, eh?
That is what on the ground.
According to you, but what they put on the table is quite different.
Of course, they have to put something different, something that can match the papers. You get that? They have to find something to match the papers, something that can be submitted on the floor of the House in the Senate to be debated. But what I want to say is there's too much politics in the country, and that's why the evolution is somehow not delivering what it should deliver. People keep complaining that the national government has got 85%. We agree. But what are you doing with the 15% that you've been given? Talking about 400 billion. What are you doing with that money? With that? The governors, the MCAs must understand their clear roles. Get that? As far as devolution and service delivered to the grassroots is concerned, the deputy governors must respect and acknowledge the fact that they are only functional as assigned by the governor. If you feel that is too small for you, do not offer yourself as a deputy governor. Don't go into office and start causing commotion and chaos, making it ungovernable for the governor. Finally, the speaker. The speakers must understand that their responsibility starts and ends within the House. So this too much appetite to go to jump to the executive, they should hold their patience. If they want to be governors, waache huyo governor malize term, atasimama kiti. If the people find him fit and liable to run the country, the county, they'll be elected as governors. So for me, it is too much politics and petty politics. Governors, I agree, I know there are governors who have actually misused public resources, and they need to be properly vetted and scrutinized. But the cases we've had here, and by the way, for an impeachment to come on the basis of, misuse of public resources and all that, the Senate PAC, that is Public Accounts Committee, chaired by Senator Kajwang, right? They also have to contribute to it and confirm that indeed this is our report that supports that this guy has been misusing these funds and needs to be impeached. But what we are having today is MCA sitting somewhere in a joint and taking 2 cold beers for the road and just waking up to the assembly and says, "Ban, we have to impeach you."
Okay.
Yeah. So we must bring it.
Thank you. Thank you for your submission. So let's hear from her.
Yeah, I think I love what Ken Babu has said, because I think with the time, if we allow these things to continue, the MCAs will become irrelevant, and even Kenyans would want to ask them to maybe not even have them as an arm of government under our county assemblies, because they are overstepping, or rather forgetting their roles as MCAs, because they need to do their rightful need of oversight. We have not had MCAs making laws, and they are allowed to make laws on early childhood education, illicit liquoring, and even oversighting on how the governors are using their county funds. So if you look at the case of Nyaribo, I really want to thank the Senate, because this time they were a bit sober. Because to me as a Kenyan, I think when MCAs feel like their pockets are dry and they want to siphon money from governors and the people involved and even the opponents of governors, they just wake up and decide to impeach someone. So I think much has been said by Ken Babu, and moving forward, we need MCAs to make the house a house of oversight, so that when any Kenyan hears that Nairobi governor is being ejected out of office, they are interested to know, because they know MCAs will bring facts and it will not be politics. Because the things we are highlighted to in these Senate proceedings, you see people crying, others are even unable to talk, others come and say, like the way he has alleged that someone has been told you have voted and you were not there. These are things we need to not to be wasting our public funds on them, because they require a lot of money. People the sitting allowances, the lawyers to do the documentation, etc. It is true that we need to oversight our governors, but we don't need to do it out of political witch hunt. We need to be objective, so that any motion taken to Senate, it is a substantive motion that even any Kenyan who is not in that county can sit and listen, either to learn 1 or 2 things that they can use in future in the relevant counties, or to understand clearly what is the reason that is making these MCAs to eject this governor out of office.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to say, having ran for the MCA seat in Kirinyaga in 2022, it's more of a structural issue, and you have politics winning at the end of the day. The truth of the matter is that, any MCA, for instance, who wants to maybe do well in his ward, one of the things that you can do is to be on the good books of the current governor. And this is more of a structural issue, just the way the setup is. And perhaps this reveals some cracks of how maybe we can improve, see the avenues, like you said, having goodwill on the side of our leaders. But now the thing is, it being a structural issue, being that even in the next government, we're going to have this sort of thing, MCAs, the truth of the matter is that they can gang up. And they can be used by people in power for political witch hunt, to get them, if they're interested, in that kind of position. So it is a problem, a structural one, from where I sit, and it reveals some cracks in the current setup that perhaps you should rethink some of these things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your submission. I think that is fair enough. Moving on to the next story that made headlines this week about the chiefs. The chiefs had come with together with their assistants, had come to they had that graduation.
Yes.
And then afterwards they were invited in State House. I actually remember that day I was making my way to some place near the State House, and I'm telling you, we have many chiefs in this country. Where?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
They are many. So they were invited at State House, and of course, that is the day they were. The president was receiving the report for the Jukwaa la Usalama also, and of course they've been. The president has said that they are going to support them. Actually, first of all, by increasing their pay also, and of course ni kasikia watapewa ni motorbike kama ni electric or something, yeah, to ease their work, and which is also important. It's quite important. But before I play that clip, first of all, let me remind those people who will be heading to Mombasa, and just in case kama uko Pwani, uko Mombasa, this 13th of December and 14th kuna event itakuwa inafanyika pale Mama Ngina Drive. Kwa wale ambao mnajua Pwani, kwa wale ambao wako kule Pwani, kutakuwa na event ambayo itakuwa inafanyika pale hivi kwa ajili yenu. Inaitwa Firi Festival. Itakuwa inafanyika kule, utakuwa na shuhudia different cultures, na pia mapochopocho vile wapwani wanajua kupika. So just in case you are making your way to the coast, just in case you're listening to us all the way from Malindi, from Lamu, or kutoka wapi palipopote pale, make sure that on 13th and 14th tukutane pale Mama Ngina Drive for the Firi Festival. Quite important. Moving on to the next thing.
Your Excellency, we need to improve the compensation that comes to all the chiefs and assistant chiefs who serve in line of duty, and they mean to be compensated in good time.
They are the eyes and ears of government and of the president at the grassroots. They are the most dependable transmitters of government policy. And Mr. President, the requests that they have made directly through the minister and through their superiors, please, I respectfully request you to accommodate the requests of these our brothers and sisters to the farthest extent possible, because through these people we can expedite. By empowering these people and this cadre, we can fasten and expedite the transformation of Kenya in the shortest time possible.
Well, we are talking about the chiefs, and first of all, I remember a long time ago when the chiefs were powerful, when they were feared. I remember hiyo kitambo tukiwa wadogo, even when you're going to, you were making your way to the market and you heard the voice of the chief. As a young child, ulikuwa lazima unaingiwa na uoga. I remember chiefs disciplining people, by the way. Yeah? A young man ataki kwenda shule, ulikuwa unasikia, we will take you to the chief. Yes, we will take you to the chief. So a lot changed. Kuna some period hapo katikati, a lot really happened around the chiefs, and they stopped being as powerful as they used to be. And the introduction of the county commissioners, right? The introduction of the county commissioners changed almost everything, and their assistant county commissioners changed so many things. So right now tumewaona wamekuja Nairobi in their beautiful uniform, quite amazing, by the way. Yeah, so they came to Nairobi, they met the president, they were given promises, and you've also had the deputy president also fighting for them, fighting for their rights. And indeed, by the way, ukiangalia pesa wamekuwa kilipwa quite little for somebody who is the representative of the government at the bottom level of administration. Like we are talking about, they are the ones that kuna kesi ya gender-based violence atafikishwa pale. Kuna kesi ya mtoto hajaenda shule anafikishwa pale. So to me, I feel like it's a good idea to empower them in terms of their salaries, and also in terms of equipping them with tools that will help them work. But again, also, I've had so many people complaining about the chiefs. Yeah, people have really been complaining about the chiefs. Oh, mara tukipeleka hivi, they have joined that WhatsApp group of corruption also. Yeah, because utaenda kwambia ya hii kesi yako, I need a pen. kalamu yangu imeisha ink, just like we've been say, ya kalamu yangu imeisha ink, you need to give something for them to be able to push your case on and so forth. So I don't know, what are your submissions and all your views around this happening around the chiefs?
Yeah, I think let me start. I think, as you have said, it's a good thing, because for a chief to tell you, buy me a pen, jusina kalamu, sijui leta 10 bob ya kuprint, atuna printing, it is a good thing that the deputy president championed for their welfare in terms of salaries. And if their salaries are increased, it means they will offer good delivery, because people assume that because chiefs are working in their area or their locality, then the 3,000 is enough. To be honest, it is not enough, especially if that chief has devoted his whole life to ensure that there is security, there is no gender-based violence, etc. So it is good that their pay needs to be raised. I heard the president say they will be given tablets. I think it's a good thing. I just hope it won't be lies, right? If you deliver on this, it would be a good thing, because on the issue of gender-based violence, if there are people who hear these cases in real times, are our chiefs. So if they can be taught on how to use this gadget, and they be given a software that is so easy to use, so that they can be able to channel these cases maybe to the relevant police station, to the relevant bodies, to ensure that the gender-based violence at the local level ends, it will be a good thing. And on the issue of them having too much power, people need to remember that this country has democracy, this country has digital media. Sayu chief haezi nitandika, hata mimi nitamtandika. Unajua? How? Chief haezi nitandika alafu yende hivyo. Someone will record that and you see post it somewhere. So we need to applaud the idea, and we also need to stay vigilant, because ni sisi tutafanya either wakuwe na too much power ama wa work within their areas of jurisdiction. Tukiona mtu anapitiza kiwango, report that person, record it, share it to the community, to the relevant, tell them that this chief or this sub chief needs to do this and that, and not beyond this. And let us not only criticize them. I am one person who benefited from a sub chief in sometimes back in Nairobi, when I was not going back to school, and they're like, this girl needs to be in school, and the sub chief ensured that I went to school. They actually bought me the uniforms, because I had been called in a national school and I could not afford the school fees. So it was a woman sub chief. I don't even remember her name very well, because they paid school fees for me for the first time. They bought me, I think they had donors that they knew if I talk to this donor, this girl will get help. So some of them really do good work. We cannot only criticize them on the bad thing that some of them have been doing, but if they can be empowered properly and taught their mandate so that they don't bypass it and become too powerful, this initiative of Jukwaa la Usalama will be a great initiative for our country at the local level. Thank you for your submission. Let's hear your submission.
Empowerment, it's certainly something that I would applaud for. Not so long ago, I had the passing of my late father, a great man, and one of the key figures that was very useful in just organizing and all that were the chiefs. Now, that is the first thing I would say. Empowerment for sure. I would definitely applaud it. My second reading of that is that this is 2027 fever. I think it's on. I would look at it at pure strategy. The truth of the matter is that chiefs are exactly that. They are the grassroots mobilizers, and they can be used by the government as key intelligence tool. So they are an asset for sure. So my reading of it is that, well, if I was the president for sure, I would be looking at how I can bring some of these people on board, for intel, and how I should be able to self-organize, my campaign, given that he's going to be seeking re-election. Now, the other part of that is...
Wait a minute. Is the intel for your campaigns or for the government? I mean, to work for the citizens?
Hard to say. Yes, hard to say how it will be used. But the truth is that they're key, important figures that are able to, give, as the deputy president has mentioned, that they're able to give intel on what is happening at the village level, what is happening. And by that, by to channel that information, all the way up, then you can be able to better formulate a better strategy of how you still going to move your alliances, forward. The other part I would mention about that whole thing is where this money is coming from. It's okay for the leader, to come forward and say that well, we would want to add. Would want to do more for you, which is a good thing. But the problem now becomes, where is this money coming from? And so we are back to maybe the issue of taxation, because the money has to be someone has to raise the money. Who is going to pay them? Where is this money coming from? So we're back to the same issue perhaps we've been dealing with, whether it's looking at taxation or maybe redirecting some of the funds that were meant for other things, to please a certain, section of the government for self-interest or who knows what. So it's a lot of things. Strategy for sure. Yes, I think they are going to be very instrumental in shaping the 2027 election. And they are going to be used for exactly that.
But we should not look at them in that perspective only, because you see, some of these narratives, we are the people who create them, and they cause harm to us more than they even cause harm to the politicians. Because once you give the leeway and the perception that a chief will make a government to come in power or not come to power, that is the corruption they will go and do to the ground, and blackmail politicians. Unajua niko na intel yako, weka thao, niko na intel. We should know.
But I'm taking the positive part of what he has said. It might also be on the positive side, actually, for the benefit even of security in the country. So not only the narrative, the narrative point of view, there's also the positive side of it in terms of security during that time. Because remember, the people who are being used to cause chaos during these elections and even after elections, they are people from a from a certain village, and that village has a chief and a sub chief, right? So if they can be able, because they know, let me tell you that the chiefs know who is the thief in that area.
True.
They usually know. So I think if they can be used positively to ensure that there's peace during the campaign period, and not only in campaign period, because we have a lot of things happening even currently as we are speaking, not only during the campaigns. So I think taking the positive bit of it, it's quite important. So let's hear what Ken has to say. And Ken, now I'm going to limit you to 2 minutes. No, not 2 minutes, 1 minute, so that now we can discuss something else.
It's okay. Mine is just to, when you talk about salary increment to the chiefs, that's, I think, a green light. That's a positive progress.
Yes.
But then, did it have to take Kindiki to ask for it? I mean, the president doesn't know that these chiefs have been struggling with this pay. They didn't come to Kenya yesterday. So this is something that I agree with my brother. It might be a carrot being dangled for one-sided services in the run-up of 2027 elections. And we cannot write it off. We cannot write it off because the chiefs interact with everybody in this country. From the village level. If today you want to maybe to apply for a job somewhere and they tell you to go and get a letter from your chief, you'll have to go back to the village.
Sure.
So then the government can equally dangle carrots of the motorbikes and all the salary increment just in the run of 2027 election. We cannot write it off. We cannot, as a politician, you think in a political way, and that is what the president does best. He looks at things and he gives them a political view. So having understood that the chiefs interact with 50 million Kenyans daily, you can easily call to in my village and get to know, okay, what is Ken Babu doing, or what is he about to do, or which project is he running there. You see, so the issue of salary increment, that is a good one. At least chiefs needs to also to have better living, a decent life. But the president could have also given them the affordable housings that are being built across the country.
Well, that's a nice idea.
As though the chiefs can also have affordable housing.
For your information, the president has I know he does listen to this show. So
at least I've helped Kenya Kwanza to make something.
Mwambie hawapatie nyumba ya bei rahisi.
But now I'm not using the United Opposition thinking and our plans to sort out Kenya Kwanza regime problems. Anyway, because I love this country, let me help the president make a progress. Pea wanachifu affordable housing. Lakini sikue carrot na dangle for 2027.
Well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Okay. Now I want to look at this. The other day, the World Bank warned that Kenya is doing badly in terms of debts. That we are doing badly in terms of debts. That's for a fact, because even as we stand right now in terms of our GDP, we are talking about, in terms of our revenue, we are talking about, is it 68% going to debts, and so many other things. So different people had different views around these debts that you're talking about, let me just read about what the World Bank said about the debts that we have. Okay, so they warned that Kenya's rising debt and failing tax revenues are squeezing development spending. So they urged for 5 major fiscal reforms to restore stability, protect jobs, and rebuild public trust. I want to read for you what are these key reforms that they suggested for Kenya to do. So this is what they said, that they said stronger governance. That's what they are calling the first reform. Improved competitiveness, better management of state-owned enterprise risks, retargeting subsidies, and a renewed approach to urban fiscal policy to restore stability and boost productivity. So those are some of the 5 key reforms that the World Bank recommended to Kenya if we are going to help ourselves in terms of these debts that we are in right now. And I have Ndindi Nyoro, member of Parliament of Kiharu. So this is what he said.
For the next 5 years. So, in the mind of government, there will be no Kenya in the next 5 years or what? When you take fuel levy to be collected in Kenya for the next 7 years to build roads, are you telling us there will be no roads in Kenya to be built? As I come to the conclusion, I have indicated that Kenya is borrowing 1.25 trillion shillings every year. But even the developments that we are seeing, including the expansion of Nairobi-Nakuru highway, we now have had to force NSSF to invest workers' resources in that road, while the government knows for sure it will never break even. Now that we are selling a stake in Safaricom, why can't the government provide that road for free to all the people in the western side of this country?
There's a lot to say around the debts, and I'm seeing we only have 12 minutes. And you people, once I give you the mic, you're going to speak the whole day out. So I think we can. I give you 1 minute. 1 minute each, strictly. Okay, Peter, 1 minute.
Okay, I think let me start. One of the realities we have as a country is that our debt is too much. It is ballooning to the extent that probably in future my children will not be able to even survive in this country. And it is true that the government needs to restructure and try and see how can it raise funds, because as of now we have hit the mark of 12 trillion. But if you look at how the government is servicing this loan, the highest interest is on the domestic debt. And I ask myself, if Kenyan companies, Kenyan banks, Kenyan insurance companies and pension funds are giving money to the government in terms of loan, why can't they reduce the interest rates so that they're not even more higher than the external debts that we are having? So if we are going to move forward, government has to look at ways of raising money, yes, but also we need not to keep quiet on asking for the accountability of these loans, because as a country we have borrowed up to 12 trillion, but we don't see hii pesa imetumika wapi. And one of the things that Kenyans need to know is that politicians borrow money for legacy projects. So you'll find a politician borrowing money either when they're going into election so that they construct a road, and when that road is constructed, you'll not be able to ask questions of how much money has been used. So we need to wake up to ask questions, because we are the people paying these loans. As for Ndindi Nyoro, he needs to be honest, because I remember Ndindi Nyoro sometimes in 2021, he was telling us that we need to sell Safaricom. Right now, the government is selling Safaricom, some of the shares. He has all of a sudden become too clever and is advising the government not to sell. You know, politicians need to live by their words and advise accordingly and objectively.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear your.
You know, one of the things that the CEO of Equity mentioned that was a big takeaway, you know, having led a very successful business in Kenya, was the need for strategic partnership. And he took the IMF to task. And one of the things that he was championing for was funding to the private sector as opposed to the government sector, because it is by funding the private sector that you're able to create a stimulus for economic growth. So the issue of debt, I would say it's one that I am very keen on, because it speaks directly to a major issue of growth. Because I don't think we are going to outrun our debt if we don't grow as fast as our debt is accumulating. And that is why I've always been, you know, I'm a big advocate of technopolitics. Basically, it's combining technology with politics, trying to do more with less. We have to look at novel ways. You know, when conventional thinking does not solve your current problems, you know, you have to look elsewhere. So my current reading of it is that as a country, we have to be pro-growth, and that means we have to look at avenues of driving production, be it looking at technology. Some of the solutions that I've actually been working on have been on that, looking at Juakali and looking at ways in which you can take the current ways of doing things and looking at how you can drive down the cost of doing the same things for bigger outputs, because it's only by growing faster can you outrun the debt that is going to accumulate.
Thank you. I think on the issue of sale of Safaricom, my major concern is not on who is talking about it, but the buyer who is buying Safaricom. We have to be very honest and clear and open our eyes as we look at this thing. Mm-hmm. There is somebody who is behind all these sale and purchases. Vodacom might just be a mask, but which face is behind the mask? That's the question that we should be asking ourselves. Who is buying Safaricom through Vodacom? Very soon, things will be left out of the cat will be out of the box, and the wind shall blow, and we are going to see the anus of the chicken. Very soon, tutaona mwenye ananunua Safaricom. People are just hiding here and telling us, as a country we need to sell Safaricom. But we know there is somebody who is so much interested and invested in buying Safaricom. I'll not mention the name. I'll leave it to Kenyans to deal with it. But the wind is going to blow, and we're going to see the anus of the chicken.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your submissions. I think we are going to finish with because we have we have 7 minutes, and in these 7 minutes, one minute as you also sign out. It's about Tanzania, our neighbor, Tanzania. We know they have a planned demonstration. That is on the demonstrations that are planned for the 9th of December. And of course, Tanzania police, they have issued a stern warning over the demonstrations. Again, we also heard what the president said, accusing foreign countries for meddling in their internal affairs. And they said that we have not meddled in their affairs. Why are they meddling in our affairs, internal affairs? But basically, when you look at why people are meddling in Tanzania's business, is because of the human rights. We had people losing their lives because of the protests that happened after the elections, and because they were not heard, they were not listened to. So a lot is really happening with our neighbor country, and of course we pray for peace for that country, as well as for Kenya. Yeah, as well as for Kenya is quite important. So I just want one submission as you sign out, because we only have now 4 minutes.
Okay, I think I would start because Samia Suluhu is a woman just like me, and I think anatuangusha kwa kiwango fulani, because the allegations that have been made against his government, especially when it comes to life, when a life is lost, it means a family has been affected and people's futures have been drained in 6 feet under. So I think she would have treated this matter more wisely and not treat the international bodies and tell them that they are meddling, because they are asking tough questions. We saw the CNN report by Larry Madowo, and honestly, when very many people have died with that magnitude, it looks like a genocide. So people must ask questions. So she would have done it professionally. But one thing she messes around is going ahead and telling people that it is Kenyans, it is the neighbors who have entered, and because even as are human beings, if true to her words that it is Kenyans who went into that government,
it's neighbors, not Kenyans, neighbors.
But every time she speaks of neighbors, people think it's Kenyan because we have always had a fight.
That's them thinking, but she said neighbors.
Yes,
right?
But sometimes she narrows down, mandugu zetu, hawa wa Kenya, wameharibu kwao. So it is wrong, because even if a Kenyan dies in Tanzania, Kenyans would ask questions. So she should not say someone should die because it is a Kenyan.
Thank you.
If they found them guilty, they should have deported them back.
Thank you for your submission.
Reported and prosecuted for what they did in Tanzania.
Thank you for your submission.
I think from where I stand, my reading of it is that it is interesting how technology is shaping our geopolitics. One of the accusations was that Kenyan activists, were directly, let's say, driving or fueling the unrest in Tanzania. And it's interesting to see that such a thing would not have been possible, say 20 years ago, were it not for technology. Someone with a very popular Twitter handle or X handle can be able maybe to also, reveal, even for Ladimadeo being accused, of driving out some of these tragedies that has happened there. So my reading of it is that, as we move forward into the future, it will be interesting to see just how some of these geopolitics dynamics are going to, because it's almost begs the question, what is a border? If Kenyans, you can be seated, in Kawangware, and then you hashtagging, a president who is about to be sworn in and saying that, we must call for accountability for the deaths that have been revealed. It's interesting, I think, moving on forward.
Final remark?
My remark, it's towards the youth. They're very instrumental in shaping how the turnout of 2027 election is going to go out. So my humble appeal is that they have to be active participants, not passive. So they have to make sure they have the voters, and they have to be very active in these political matters. We don't want to be shamed saying that we're only doing politics online.
Thank you.
I think mine is just to tell the Tanzania President Samia Suluhu to take responsibility. She participated and oversaw serious human rights violation. People were killed in Tanzania. We cannot write it off. And she cannot sit somewhere and start throwing hands left and right. She has to take individual responsibility. She's the head of the state, and the buck stops with her. It doesn't matter what she's saying. It doesn't matter where she's pointing fingers. She must take individual responsibility, whether the constitution allows or not. And if gradually those people who are calling for demonstrations, Raila Odinga in 2018, when we were just doing demonstrations, said, and I quote, that when the people are tired, they will act.
Thank you.
Samia Suluhu is joking, and Tanzanians again tired, they will act.
Thank you.
My final remark, I think it would be to the Kenyan Gen Zs, tutoe kelele mingi social media, tuingie ground, because you are popular politicians on social media. When you give them likes and you don't go and register as voters, it is useless. They will continue being popular on social media, na tutaingia ground 2027 and we will show them dust.
Thank you.
Mine is just to say that the united opposition is jointly united at the hip, and our agenda is clear and black and white. President Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza regime must step aside so that we can deliver this country.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for the interesting show that we've had. So we invite you to come over again and again so that we can continue with this kind of conversations, because they are quite important. Starting from next Saturday, of course, we're going to introduce different segments in this show so that now we can involve the young people more. So we shall be having segments that involve the young people more, and of course that help in decision making, and also in in informing decision making and shaping of opinions. So please, this is the place to be. This is the show to listen. This is the radio station to listen to. 88.8 Radio Generation here in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa, Radio Gen KE. On all our social media platforms, you are able to follow all the conversations that happen in this show. So up to until next Saturday, please have a good